What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
5 Chapter 91 Kizaru. I want to resign. 4 Emperors, Monk is here. Advertisement. Kizaru was attracted by the food, and since Monk also greeted him, he naturally chose to stay. It has to be said that the food produced by this Myriad Realms prop was quite delicious, and the 4 people present, including Monk himself, ate it with gusto. Momosuke directly disregarded his own image and began to feast on it. At the beginning, Zephyr still had the demeanor of a senior, but at the end, he directly followed Momosuke to eat as fast as he could. There's no way it's just delicious. The same is true for Kizaru, who directly abandoned his admiral posture after half-time and started gobbling. Zephyr, Momosuke, and Kizaru didn't ask Monk how he got this magical tablecloth, because there was no need to ask, and he knew it was a magical item that Monk was fishing after thinking about it. While the 3 of them were enjoying the delicious food, they came to the marine meeting room. Sengoku had a gloomy look on his face. Where did that guy Kizaru go? The generals present also looked at each other in blank dismay. After Kizaru left with Monk, he never appeared again. On the side of Sengoku above, Akainu crossed his hands in front of his chest, with a gesture of no strangers, and then said lightly, "Marshal, let's start the meeting directly. That guy probably won't show up today." Sengoku let out a long breath. Wait another half an hour. If Kizaru still doesn't show up, then forget about it. Although it is said that Kizaru is often depressed and often fishes, he is also an admiral after all, and some important meetings still require him to be present. Half an hour passed quickly, and just as Sengoku was about to ignore Kizaru with a livid face and started the meeting, Kizaru's figure walked in. Kizaru at the door was belching and picking his teeth with a toothpick, which made Sengoku's face even more ugly. He said in a low voice, "Kizaru, everything is waiting for you, why don't you hurry back to your seat?" However, I heard Kizaru say, "Marshal, I want to dismiss the position of admiral and apply for transfer to protect Monk." The generals present showed astonishment and looked at Kizaru in disbelief. They never expected that Kizaru would say such a thing as soon as he came. The experience just now made Kizaru extremely envious of Zephyr and Momosuke, 2 bodyguards, beside Monk. Not only can you drink the world's most delicious motai wine as plain water, but also have such a rich and delicious meal, Kizaru directly does not want the position of admiral. Although Admiral said that he spends a lot of time fishing, Monk's side is more comfortable. There are more things to enjoy. Kizaru felt that being able to stay by Monk's side all the time was enough for this life. In the first place, Sengoku's face was completely gloomy, and then his body emitted a golden light, and he sternly shouted, "Kizaru, do you want to listen to what you are talking about?" Sengoku is really angry and Kizaru is just messing around. The roof of Monk's room, under the darkness of night, Monk stands on the roof, with Saint Hair and Kizaru standing on both sides of his body. The 3 of them looked at the naval headquarters in unison. 10 seconds later, naval headquarters vibrated, extremely violent. Golden light can still be seen flickering at the broken cracks. Monk standing in front couldn't help being happy. "I told you, Kizaru will definitely be beaten by my uncle." Both Momosuke and Zephyr also had smiles on their faces. Just after a few people had finished eating, Kizaru couldn't wait to leave, and told them that he wanted to go to Sengoku to apply for the dismissal of Marine's admiral's position and transfer to Monk's side, and Monk and the 3 already knew Kizaru's ending. Speaking of which, Zephyr was a little surprised. What meeting is Sengoku holding right now? Recently, after his wife and daughter were revived, he chose to go home when he was free, and he became Monk's bodyguard, gradually leaving Marine's power center. Now he doesn't know most of Marine's affairs. Because of the world government, Momosuke became the mouthpiece between Sengoku and Monk. Although she was often absent from meetings, she still understood many things. The marshal went to apply for funding from the world government this time, and the 5 elders requested that after fishing today, they should bring Monk's magical items to show them. Saying that, Momosuke looked at Monk standing in front. At this time, Monk had his hands behind his back, looking at the sea in the distance under the night, with an unfathomable and lofty attitude overlooking the common people. This made Momosuke couldn't help curling his lips. If he didn't know, he would think he was the marine commander, but he was actually just a kid under 20 years old. But Meng didn't say it out. One is that she has undergone a huge change in her mentality towards Monk now, and the other is that Monk is too narrow-minded. If he speaks out, he will definitely retaliate. Momosuke looked at Monk and said, "The 5 elders have one more request, and that is to take you with them." Zephyr couldn't help frowning. Take Monk to the Holy Land. When it comes to those few old guys, no one is very serious. Once the 5 elders have taken possession of Monk, they are likely to ask Sengoku to hand over Monk to the world government, so that Monk will become the direct subordinate of the world government. Advertisement. To put it bluntly, it is very likely to become a tool person. Of course, with the current value of Monk, even if he becomes a tool person of the world government, he can enjoy prosperity and wealth. The only thing is, Momosuke and Zephyr can no longer stay by Monk's side, and the bodyguards will most likely be replaced by CP spies. Agent. Thinking of this, GFA felt a little lost. But he didn't say anything. After all, if it really comes to that time, Monk's own choice, he has no right to intervene. But the marshal refused, and he didn't want Monk to have direct contact with the world government. The night covered Zephyr's face, so he couldn't see his expression clearly, but his tone showed his mood. He let out a long breath and said helplessly, "Even if it's Sengoku, he can't refuse too many times." Momosuke on the side didn't say anything, it was true, and at the same time, she also thought that once Monk was summoned to the world government, she would not be able to stay by Monk's side. Thinking of this, Momosuke vaguely felt that his heart had fallen into an ice cave. In front of him, Monk didn't turn around, still with that inscrutable attitude, he sneered and said, "Don't worry, I won't leave naval headquarters. My uncle also dotes on me very much, and he will never let me leave." Zephyr and Momosuke couldn't help but look at Monk's back. This young man who was much younger than both of them, said such words, which warmed their hearts. They really don't want Monk to leave, they just want to stay by Monk's side. It can be said that Monk has now become the sole pillar in the hearts of Zephyr and Momosuke. With Monk's words, the two were relieved a lot. Monk still didn't look back, looking at the sea in the distance that became very mysterious under the night, and the sea was sparkling under the moonlight. He suddenly discovered that he, who only wanted to be bad, seemed to be unable to do so anymore. Now that we are in this era, many things seem to be beyond our control. Now that I have entered the sight of the four emperors, if the four emperors are given a chance, they will definitely want to get themselves, and if they can't get themselves, if they are given a chance, they will directly kill themselves without hesitation. Since you can't get it, you will naturally destroy yourself. And the greater the value you show, the more the world government will want to take yourself into their pocket and let them control it. Only the power in your own hands is called power. Monk just said it was easy, but Sengoku, as the Marine Marshal, could not protect himself for too long in the face of the pressure from the world government. After a while, Monk didn't intend to continue thinking about it made his head hurt. In short, live in the present, who knows what will happen in the future, just take one step at a time and see one step at a time. Monk came down with the roof and decided to go back and sort out today's harvest. This time he got a lot of all-purpose experience points, and combined with the super motai, he didn't know how much improvement he could bring to his Conqueror's Haki. Balcony, easy chair. Monk lays down in the easy chair and starts to organize the harvest. He is alone on the balcony now. Zephyr uses any door to go home to accompany his wife and daughter. Momosuke takes a shower in the room, and now Momosuke stays in Monk's room almost all the time. Monk didn't have any other thoughts, and directly took out the premium motai from the system. The decoration of premium motai has more gold, which looks more high-end and upscale. Monk couldn't help but muttered, "I guess this bottle is worth a lot of money." He planned to sell the empty bottle after drinking it. The monthly salary of Monk is only 500,000 per month, and the pocket money is pitiful. Monk is actually very unhappy about this. Anyway, he has also brought huge value to Marine. The basic salary does not increase, at least there are performance rewards bar. But every time Sengoku rejected Monk because Marine was going to be invincible. What Monk didn't know was that after several times of fishing, Marine was really about to lose his temper. No longer thinking about these messes, Monk started to open the extra grade motai, and began to add some while drinking. Consciousness entered the system page, and Monk tentatively added a little universal experience point, wanting to see how much improvement the super motai can bring to the universal experience point. Soon, Monk was shocked to find that with the blessing of Super Motai, one universal experience point can be used as a 10-level experience point. That's right, 10 o'clock, tenfold improvement. Advertisement. Monk just laughed happily, superior is awesome. Ha ha ha. In this way, his universal experience point this time is equivalent to an instant increase of 10 times. Monk was excited, and his consciousness began to add points to Conqueror's Haki crazily. When he added half of the universal experience points to Conqueror's Haki, the voice of the system sounded in his head. Congratulations, host, Conqueror's Haki has reached the god level. Possess the ability to know and kill. Listening to the notification from the system, Monk's eyes flickered. Knowledge kill, that is, it can invalidate the opponent's observation Haki, whether it is the ability to perceive or predict the future, all of them will be invalid. But what Monk cares about is that this means that the red-haired Conqueror's Haki has reached the god level. It's normal to think about it, if the red-haired Conqueror's Haki has not reached the god level, then he can't use Conqueror's Haki to directly shock the Green Bull Admiral without entering in Wano-kuni. Ah, the corners of Monk's mouth were drawn. Others are not important, what Monk cares about is that the goal he has been thinking about has finally been achieved. Now his Conqueror's Haki, Admiral, is unstoppable. It doesn't feel good to be able to deter 99% of the enemies in this world without making a move. Monk was cheerful, full of a sense of accomplishment. Traveling here, including the days before naval headquarters, it's almost a month. And within a month, his Conqueror's Haki has grown from scratch, and even reached the top level of red hair. If he said it, red hair probably. Are you going to cry in the toilet? For the remaining half of the universal experience points, Monk didn't choose to add others. Most of them were added to Conqueror's Haki, and the remaining part was added to other abilities. For example, Shock Fruit, Fish Fruit, Hawkeye's Knife, etc. After this operation, Monk's strength has officially entered the 4 Emperors level, and it is not a weak 4 Emperors, but a top 4 Emperors. Of course, this is not considered a shortcoming, Wang Deshao. Meng Shu's shortcoming is that he has no combat experience. If you really want to fight against Kaido, Big Mom, Whitebeard and Redhead, these experienced 4 Emperors, you may not really be able to win if you don't cheat. But Monk didn't care, he was very satisfied with his current strength. Then, Monk used the chicken rib fruit, that is, the fortress fruit, and finally took the physical strength pill. So far, today's harvest can be regarded as completely digested. 4 Emperors, Monk achieved. With a joyful mood, Monk said to himself while drinking the junior motai, when Momosuke comes out, I will go to the Sabayati Islands again and see my current conquerors. The strength of the gas. Quote, it is estimated that the residents of the entire Sabayati archipelago will be able to sleep well tonight. Monk thought happily. Meanwhile, Sabayati archipelago, Rip Tavern C. Rayleigh was drinking when Shaki hurried out of the pub, walking fast, newspaper in hand. Okay. Rayleigh was very surprised when he saw the newspaper in Shaki's hand. It's already midnight, and there are still newspapers. He has read today's newspaper. Emergency newspaper, Shaki said quickly. A big event happened again in New World. This time Marine went to Ghost Island, and also had a conflict with the Shuangwang. Conflict with the Double Emperor. Rayleigh couldn't help but widen his eyes. How is this going? Marine intends to fight against the 4 emperors at the same time. If this continues, Marine will be able to deal with 4 emperors at the same time. A voice sounded from the door. Rayleigh and Shaki couldn't help but look, and then both pupils contracted violently. Whitebeard. Advertisement. Chapter 92 Rayleigh's world view is completely broken. Advertisement. Both Rayleigh and Shaki were shocked that Whitebeard was here. At this time, there are countless doubts in the minds of the 2 people, that is why Whitebeard knows the location of the 2 of them. At this time, a voice with a smile sounded. Senior Rayleigh, do you miss me? Because of Whitebeard's size, the red hair was squeezed in. The moment they saw the red hair, neither Rayleigh nor Shaki had any doubts, and everything became clear. Haha, Red Taro, why are you here? Rayleigh stood up and greeted him with a smile. Shaki, you're getting manly. Shaki laughed. The redhead smiled bitterly, not because of Shaki's words, but Rayleigh's words. Senior Rayleigh, I have become the Emperor of the Sea, please save me some face. This is when he was an intern on the Roger Pirates, the crew called him by his nickname, and Rayleigh has never changed it. Rayleigh laughed and said, Shanks, don't you know that no matter how old a child is, in the eyes of the elders, he will always be a child. The redhead smiled without anger, and did not dwell on this topic, and formally greeted Rayleigh. After the 2 greeted each other, Rayleigh looked at Whitebeard and sneered. Whitebeard, it's been a long time. 793 Whitebeard, with a huge body hidden under the hood and robe, slowly walked into the tavern with his head down, giving out his unique smile. Then he said, yes. Long time no see, Rayleigh. It's been almost 20 years. I didn't expect you to be dead. The corners of Rayleigh's mouth couldn't help but draw. You haven't died yet, how could I die first? Whitebeard didn't care about Rayleigh's answer either. Seeing old friends gives me the feeling of returning to my youth. After both parties finished their courtesies, Shaki poured wine to greet Whitebeard and the redhead. Whitebeard sat on the more spacious sofa, and the redhead sat at the bar with Rayleigh. After taking a sip of his drink, Rayleigh got to the point and said, I never thought that the 2 of you would walk together. Ah, the redhead couldn't help laughing bitterly. It can't be helped. Too many changes have taken place in New World recently. I don't think we need to say more. Rayleigh, you should know too, right? Of course I know. Although I said I'm retiring, I'm still very concerned about the news in this sea. Rayleigh laughed loudly. CJDH Shaki, who was pouring wine, couldn't help giving Rayleigh a blank look, and he really didn't blush. If she hadn't told Rayleigh that Futura, a street guy, would know how the world is changing now. Advertisement. But, Rayleigh restrained his smile and said in surprise. Although it is said that Sengoku's nephew's fishing fruit ability is magical and the magical items caught are amazing, and some of the functions are also very powerful, but to say that the 4 emperors, Redhead and Whitebeard, were forced to join forces, isn't it too much? Is it that powerful? Whitebeard sneered. Rayleigh, after you retired, the news has become incomprehensible. Isn't it very clear in tonight's urgent newspaper? Shaki said unhappily. After all, he is in the bed of different women every day. Handing Rayleigh the newspaper he was just holding. Rayleigh took the newspaper with a noncommittal face, and after reading it for a while, his expression began to change. The more he looked, the more stunned he became, and the more, earthquake, his pupils became. There are now 3 shock fruits in this world. Rayleigh directly looked up at the redhead, and then at Whitebeard, the original shock fruit user. Yeah, the redhead nodded. Now there are 3 devil fruits capable of destroying the world. Grunt. Rayleigh swallowed involuntarily. The newspaper in his hand was already crumpled from the force of his fingers. He took a deep breath, and said to himself, All Marine 3 Admiral awaken Conquerors. Conqueror's Haki, who can screen the qualifications of the king, has become a Chinese cabbage. The world's #1 swordsman, Eagle Eye, fainted in the toilet, his sword skills are no longer valuable. Rejuvenate, Garp returns. Demon fruit power can also swim. Rayleigh's hands were shaking as he muttered. It's outrageous, because it's outrageous. Advertisement. Isn't this paper made up? Rayleigh questioned directly. It clearly wrote the current marine information and the introduction of Monk's magical items. I have to say that Auntie, the queen of the industry, is very efficient. Naturally, Rayleigh didn't know that these news came from Auntie, and felt that the news in the newspaper was fabricated. If it is true, his worldview will collapse. Whitebeard directly drank the wine in his hand. Although I feel a little dreamy until now, this news is true. Monk's magical items are so subverting people's 3 views. He directly hastened the arrival of the new era, and Sengoku, the young nephew, became the leader of this new era. Rayleigh was speechless. Because he couldn't find the words to refute, and the fact is true, there is no need to refute. Difficult. Very difficult. Neither the redhead nor Whitebeard was in a hurry, waiting for Rayleigh to digest. After a long while, Rayleigh let out a long breath, smiled and shook his head. Fortunately, my old bones have receded into the sea now. If Monk appeared at Roger's time, it would be difficult for us to ascend the throne of One Piece, even if we wanted to. Rayleigh understood why the redhead and Whitebeard were teaming up. We can't do it without joining forces. With the blessing of Monk's magical items, the current Marine's combat power has soared. After feeling emotional for a while, Rayleigh looked at the redhead and Whitebeard again, and asked, Red Taro, Whitebeard, why are you two here looking for me? Let me tell you first, I have already retired, and I am no longer interested in things on the sea. The red-haired smiled. Senior Rayleigh, you don't need to risk yourself, you just need to do some simple things on the black market. Rayleigh raised his eyebrows slightly, and the redhead began to tell Rayleigh about his next plan. Gradually, Rayleigh showed a look of interest. Hong Taro, your method is really feasible. As long as there are enough interests, there will always be magical items flowing out. And when the redhead, Whitebeard and Rayleigh were discussing the plan of the black market, a random door appeared on the Sabayati archipelago, and Monk walked out from behind the door. Hina is very puzzled. Momoshiki, why are you wearing such clothes? Advertisement. Chapter 93. The red hair is stunned. Has the ceiling of Conqueror's Haki changed hands? Advertisement. In the afternoon, Grandma He told Monk that she would send Hina, but she didn't expect that Grandma He would be so fast, so Hina came to report in the evening. After seeing Momoshiki, Hina has been wondering why Momoshiki is always wearing a maid outfit. Momoshiki said unhappily, from the very beginning, you have been asking. Don't ask any more, just say Monk forced me. After listening to Monk, he couldn't help but take a look. Momoshiki immediately dodged and turned his head away, not daring to look at Monk. Monk doesn't say anything about her, does this woman have the nerve to say so? Hina didn't continue to ask, she turned her head to look at Monk and said, Hina is curious, Monk, what are you doing in Sabayati archipelago? Help residents cure insomnia. Monk replied. Hina's appearance belongs to the royal sister type, with pink hair and long legs, and finally matched with a queen-like burgundy-type uniform, but she has a cute catchphrase, how about Hina, how about Hina? Huh, Hina was obviously very puzzled by Monk's answer. Help the residents here cure insomnia. What the hell is that? Momoshiki on the side naturally understood what Monk was going to do, but after hearing Monk's words, he couldn't help being surprised. Monk, what do you mean? Momoshiki's pupils gradually widened. Could it be that Monk's Conqueror's Haki has increased in strength again? Can radiate the entire island. Impossible, isn't the speed of improvement too fast? In the afternoon on Ghost Island, Monk showed off his Conqueror's Haki, which is very powerful, but it can't radiate the entire island. Now Monk this is Conqueror's Haki has advanced again. Thinking of the previous Monk's Conqueror's Haki, it was still average in the afternoon, but it improved a lot in the evening, and now I think it has a high probability of improving. Momoshiki thinks that if the area covered reaches the entire Sabayati archipelago, to be honest, she doesn't believe it. After all, it is necessary to reach the top level of the red hair, the best of the four emperors, and the world's well-deserved number one. Monk's promotion is really fast, but can he reach the level of red hair? How is this possible? But out of goodwill towards Monk, Momoshiki didn't open his mouth to refute Monk. Wait and see. Hina on the side still didn't understand what Monk meant, but she didn't continue to ask. Could it be that Monk still has medical skills? They are even kind enough to help the residents here cure insomnia, but since they want to help the residents with insomnia, why choose this kind of Shankara place? Shouldn't we go to the residential area? Hina couldn't figure it out, so she didn't understand it at all. Anyway, she understood after following Monk. Grandma He told herself at dusk that as long as she obediently followed this boy, she would be able to get unexpected benefits. Hina has also heard everything about Monk, and this boy has recently benefited Marine immensely. It has improved Marine's overall strength a lot. She remembers that Smoker's recent improvement in physical skills is related to this kid. It seems that he used memory bread. However, the props that Hina is most concerned about are the same as Momoshiki, which can restore youth. Granny Crane and Vice Admiral Garp can restore their youth for more than 10 years. Thinking about it, Hina felt extremely excited. It has to be said that as long as it is a woman, it cannot escape the big killer that can restore youth. Hina quickly restrained her thoughts and looked at Monk. She wants to see how this young man can help people with insomnia. She said that she has also suffered from insomnia recently, and if it works, she can find Mengshu to cure her insomnia. I saw that Monk looked at his system panel, his Conqueror's Haki level was still God level. But even though it is a God level, the experience points have reached a terrifying 1000 points. If the level of God level is regarded as a road, Monk has walked a certain distance on this road. This will mean his Conqueror's Haki is even more powerful. I don't know if it is stronger than Shanks. In today's world, red hair, Shanks is the benchmark of Conqueror's Haki strength in this world. Don't think about it anymore. Monk let out a breath, ready to release Conqueror's Haki. Behind Momoshiki's beautiful eyes is faint, and she has a complicated mood. How much has the strength of Monk's Conqueror's Haki increased? Why can he be so confident that he will cover the entire Sabayati archipelago? Advertisement. Impossible, impossible, Momoshiki kept muttering in his mind. In the next second, Momoshiki's chanting stopped abruptly, and it was the shock of ultimate instead. I saw that the monk not far ahead had released his Conqueror's Haki, and a terrifying aura swept across the audience, enveloping Momosuke and Hina. Countless black thunder rose around Monk, surrounding Monk. It looks like a Super 2 transformation. Ha ha. Monk looked at his current appearance and said with emotion. Hina is shocked. Behind him, Hina's expression was shocked. At this time, her face was slightly pale, bead-sized beads of sweat kept dripping, and her whole body was trembling uncontrollably. God-level Conqueror's Haki, and added another 1,000 universal experience points, the Conqueror's Haki that has traveled a lot of distance on the road of God level, its deterrent degree is even more terrifying. Hina is also a rear admiral, who can't resist for long in the face of such a terrifying Conqueror's Haki. That was the coercion from the top throne, and this, king, came from a young man. Hina only felt that her consciousness began to become blurred. When she was dying, an idea flashed in her mind. This method of curing insomnia is a bit simple and rude. And so she fainted. Hina. Seeing that Hina fainted, Momosuke hurriedly shouted her name. Momosuke wanted to help Hina up, but under the cover of Monk's Conqueror's Haki, she, a candidate for the general, couldn't move. So, this Conqueror's Haki, the world's number one, right? Momosuke's scalp was already numb, and she sat helplessly on the ground. At the same time, Monk's Conqueror's Haki continued to sweep until it enveloped the entire Sabayati archipelago. Sabayati archipelago somewhere on the coast. On the Mobity and the red-haired pirate ship, two members of the four emperors chattered. However, in the next second, everyone's faces changed drastically, and at the same time, the sound of bang 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 began to sound from the splint, and members fell to the ground, and members who were not strong in willpower and strength fainted instantly. At the same time, under the sweep of the Conqueror's Haki, the originally calm sea began to violently turbulent. In the sky under the night, the clouds are also churning, as if a terrible storm is about to usher in. On the Mobity, Marco turned to Sabayati archipelago with an ugly face. This is Conqueror's Haki. Yes, Joe said with some difficulty. Unbelievable, this Conqueror's Haki surprised me too. After Joe's finished speaking, he couldn't help but look at Ben Beckman and other red hair pirates, and said in a deep voice. As this Conqueror's Haki with the red hair. His Conqueror's Haki to this extent. Ben Beckman bit the cigarette dangling from the corner of his mouth. I also hope this is our captain's Conqueror's. But unfortunately not. No. Everyone looked at Sabayati, the most recognized Conqueror's Haki is the redhead, so if it's not him, who else can there be? Could it be Pluton, Rayleigh's? Pluton, Rayleigh is probably what the double emperors can think of, because it is impossible for other powerhouses to release such a Haki. Who knows? Joe's yelled. In short, in order to prevent any accidents, let's go to the island to have a look. The members of the double royals decided to go to the island, and the captain of Mosey's family had an accident. Rip off the bar, Rayleigh, Redhead, and Whitebeard were originally relaxed, but their expressions changed drastically in the next second. What's going on? Rayleigh, the former strong man, shrank his pupils violently and trembled uncontrollably. Again, Shaki looked horrified. No, this time the Conqueror's Haki is more terrifying than the last time. I don't know how many times. Although Shaki used to be a great pirate, she has retired for so many years and her strength has deteriorated greatly. In addition, she is not famous for her combat power, so facing such a terrifying conquerors is unbearable for her. Rot. After resisting for nearly 10 seconds, he still passed out. Whitebeard and the redhead looked at each other, and then went to ultimate. Who could it be? Whitebeard murmured. Who has such horrible conquerors? Advertisement. The redhead was silent, because he didn't know that such a conqueror's Haki had surpassed him. That's right. The ceiling of conqueror's Haki in today's world has changed at this moment. Even surpassed Roger, which brought a lot of pressure to them. Senior Rayleigh, who else is hiding in the Sabayati archipelago? Rayleigh smiled wryly and shook his head. I don't know, there was a conqueror's Haki last time, but it wasn't as scary as this time. Anyway, let's go and take a look. Whitebeard got up and said in a deep voice. The strongest man is also not easy. Conqueror's Haki, scarier than that man. Who owns this world? Redhead and Rayleigh both nodded, and the three went straight to the direction of the Conqueror's Haki seat. Monk here. Momosuke struggled. Monk, that's enough. If this happens again, even she will faint. After Monk heard the words, he did not continue to show off his skills, and restrained his Conqueror's Haki. Momosuke suddenly felt a lot of relief in his body. Just now, his body was like a mountain, and the air around him was like a thick liquid. Now everything has become easier. 0. She let out a long breath, but she still couldn't calm down in her heart. Momosuke couldn't help but looked up and looked at Monk. Seeing Monk approaching her with a smile, looking at Monk's green cheeks, Momosuke was in a very complicated mood, and she couldn't help but asked, Monk, are you a devil? In the afternoon, Monk showed off his Conqueror's Haki. Now, in just a few hours, the strength of Conqueror's Haki has increased so much that it has even become the top of the world. Stronger than 4 Emperors Redhead Conqueror's Haki. I'm an angel, Monk chuckled. Then reach out and lift Momosuke up. Momosuke let out a laugh and shook his head. Forget it, whether it's an angel or a devil, anyway, I'm completely convinced. For Monk, Momosuke is really convinced, this guy will not be the protagonist of this era, right? It's just outrageous. Momosuke. Now being hit, it feels as if nothing can touch her. Already insensitive, I'll take you back to rest. Monk said with a smile. Momosuke pointed to Hina, who fainted beside him. You should go and send Hina off. I can walk by myself. Monk sneered and didn't continue to say anything, went to hold Hina in his arms, and then left Sabayati archipelago with Momosuke. 10 seconds after Monk and others left, Whitebeard, Redhead and Rayleigh came here. But all they saw was empty space. The three of them looked at each other, and they all saw the seriousness in their own eyes. Who the hell is this heaven-defying Conqueror's Haki? That night, the residents of Sabayati archipelago slept peacefully and calmly, but Whitebeard, Redhead and Rayleigh felt uneasy. I always feel that the world has changed so much recently that they don't know each other anymore. Not only them, the news that the ant deliberately spread has spread all over the world, and almost everyone who can receive the newspaper knows about it. Among them, 7 warlords of the sea saw what Big Mom said, and the improvement of marine strength is likely to lead to the abolition of 7 warlords of the sea, which made many Shichibukai not calm. Moonlight, Moria, Empress, Hancock, Heavenly Yaksha, Doflamingo, and Tyrant, Shongen, Sea Man, Jinbei, and finally, world's greatest swordsman, Eagle. Eyes flock to naval headquarters. Everyone's purpose is different, but the only thing in common is to see the magical items of Monk. On an island somewhere in the Grand Line, members of the Whitebeard pirates sent by Whitebeard to find Ace finally found Ace. In the tavern, Ace picked up the ordinary fairy bean in front of him, and said in amazement, "This thing works so well. Real or fake? L. Long. Advertisement. Chapter 94 Ace vs Blackbeard. Ace bombarded with props. Advertisement. Ace looked at the mung beans in his hand with a very surprised expression. Isn't this just ordinary mung beans? Then my partner actually said that this thing in front of me can heal the injury. Can it really be done? No matter how you look at it, it's unreliable. If it weren't for the member in front of him who he usually trusts, Ace seriously doubts whether he wants to deceive himself. Team Ace 2nd Division, you can't see the latest newspaper when you see it. Said the player. Recently a lot of big things happened in New World. No, to be precise, an amazing demon fruit power appeared in Marine. Oh, Ace became interested. He really didn't pay attention to the newspaper recently, because he has been tracking down Blackbeard's whereabouts, in order to find Blackbeard as soon as possible. Now that he has found Blackbeard's whereabouts, he was on Banero Island, and just as he was about to go, he met his partner who came to him. The demon fruit power seems to have the ability to fish, and it can fish out all kinds of magical items. This fairy bean was caught by fishing. As long as there is still one breath left, all injuries can be healed instantly, and the body can return to its full state. Ace was very surprised when he heard that, so amazing. He stared at the fairy bean in his hand, and was about to stuff it in his mouth immediately. Another member of Whitebeard felt numb after seeing it, and hurriedly stopped him. Captain 2, these fairy beans are very precious, you can't be so reckless. Eat it and it's gone. Fortunately, he was able to prevent Ace's stupid behavior. Seeing that the fairy beans were still there, he breathed a sigh of relief. It's okay. 473. Ace, however, looked disapproving. If I don't try it, how will I know if the effect is as you said? The companion was speechless. Father has already tried it, and the extra one was given to you because I thought you were outside. Speaking of this, the member of the Whitebeard pirates showed a smug smile and said, Daddy's old illnesses have all been cured, and now Daddy is in good health and doesn't need infusions anymore. Hearing this, Ace straightened up immediately, showing surprise on his face. Dad's old illnesses are all cured. That's right. After getting an affirmative answer, Ace was in a good mood, and the way he looked at the fairy beans in his hand changed. It's really an amazing thing. That's right. Although I don't want to admit it, I have to say that the items caught by this monk from Marine are really amazing. As he said that, the partner took out another thing. That's right. Dad won't let me give you this. Ace looked at the small blue pill with a gold border in front of him, and became curious. What is this? This is called the stamina pill, and it's an intermediate grade. After taking it, it can increase the upper limit of the user's physical strength. Ace was very surprised after hearing this. Direct promotion. There is no shortcut to such a thing as the upper limit of physical strength, and it can be improved by external force. To be honest, Ace didn't believe it. If it was true, who would still practice? Got it straight away. Hee. The partner was not in a hurry. Anyway, it's true or not, Captain Ace, don't you know if you try it? It's a waste to eat fairy beans now, but it's not a waste to eat this stuff. Although Ace said that he didn't really believe it in his heart, what the companion in front of him said was very reasonable. Just try it out and you'll know. He also trusts the companion in front of him very much, and will not be afraid that he will harm him. No more nonsense, he took it directly. The physical strength pill melted in the mouth, and Ace couldn't taste the taste even if he wanted to complain, but he was speechless in the next second. Because the physical strength pill filled his whole body with heat, so that Ace felt a little swollen. However, he could feel that his physical strength was improving rapidly, which made Ace couldn't help but widen his eyes, which were full of shock and surprise. The partner on the side smiled and said, How is it, Ace? Ace didn't answer, and after he had completely digested the stamina pill, he said pleasantly, Good stuff. It's really amazing. I feel that I have improved at least as much as 3 years of hard work. This is 3 years of painstaking practice. I really didn't expect it to be so miraculous. Just taking a small pill can bring about such a huge improvement. What is the origin of that monk in Marine? Advertisement. The miracle of physical strength made Ace also curious about Monk. He is Sengoku's nephew, the specific source of devil fruit is not clear. Now Marine has said everything about Monk is the highest level of confidentiality, and even he himself is guarded by strong people 24 hours a day. Ace nodded, and continued to ask, but at this moment, the conversation at the next table attracted Ace's attention. Have you heard? The islands east of Verona are being robbed right now. After Ace heard the description, he immediately recognized Blackbeard. This guy is still on Banero Island, you can't escape this time, Superintendent. Ace picked up the shoulder bag and immediately got up to leave. The partner behind him shouted, Ace, Dad actually asked me to summon you back. Don't worry about that B********** D teach. Dad is recovered now, quote. However, Ace didn't stop, he sneered and said, do you know why Dad asked you to give me the fairy beans? It is precisely because he knows me and knows that I will definitely capture Blackbeard, so he will go back. Ace quickly used the ability of Mara fruit to soar into the sky and left the tavern. He pressed his hat and said with an excited smile on the corner of his mouth, teach. Soon you will pay for the mistakes you made. Banero Island, east. The town was full of wailing and angry howling. D pirates will be punished. Blackbeard didn't care at all about the insults from the residents, thief ha ha ha. No, you're wrong. There are so many people in the world. People from the world government wouldn't even care about the death of you Marines. I'm just borrowing some supplies from you, otherwise we wouldn't be able to find pirates elsewhere. Hey, Poison Q giggled feebly, asking the person kneeling in front of him to pick an apple. He lay on the same horse that seemed to die at any moment, and said to Blackbeard, Admiral, we missed the Straw Hat Boy, where are we going to find the pirate with over 100 million? When Poison Q was speaking, the resident next to him who picked up the apple suddenly became poisoned, foaming at the mouth and convulsing to death. Your luck is a bit bad, this is your fate, I hope you don't blame me. The surrounding residents are going crazy, don't blame you, who do you blame? Would it have happened if you hadn't poisoned the apple? If you can't find it, then go to New World. Badgers came with a smile on his shoulder. Let's talk. At this time, Lafayette approached with 10 pairs of small wings on his back. He grabbed the brim of his hat with 2 fingers, drew the corners of his mouth and said, it seems that many great events have happened in New World recently. Marine's palm seems to be going further into New World. That's right. A faint voice suddenly sounded from nowhere. Van Oka, the sniper, appeared suddenly. Van Oka, can you stop appearing so silently every time? Badgers expressed his dissatisfaction. Van Orca ignored Badgers and took out a newspaper and handed it to Blackbeard. Last night's newspaper, which recorded all the information about Marine. Both Blackbeard and the other members showed curiosity, the former took the newspaper, glanced at it. In the next second, he was shocked and exclaimed, what? Hey, Marine actually got such a devil fruit. Blackbeard was almost short-circuited directly, and he didn't slow down. He knows devil fruit best and cares most about it. Almost all the fruits that appear in this world, their specific abilities, and even who controls the current fruit's strength are all the same. Clearly. But what the hell is this fishing devil fruit? He, the devil fruit expert, hadn't even heard of it before. Seeing his admiral's reaction like this, the members of the Blackbeard pirates present were a little confused. Did something happen? Badgers leaned closer. What the hell did Captain Marine do? Poison Q, Lafayette and others also approached. I want to see exactly what's going on. Soon everyone saw the contents of the newspaper, and the faces of the same few people also showed surprises. There is such a devil fruit in this world. The magical items from fishing are too outrageous. Doesn't that mean that I can also awaken Conqueror's Haki? Advertisement. Everyone was deeply shocked by the magical item of Monk mentioned above. Captain, I'm afraid there will be a big change in this world. Lafayette said solemnly. Blackbeard took a deep breath to calm down the shock in his heart, and then showed a sinister smile. I didn't expect such a powerful auxiliary fruit to exist in this world. Thief ha 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 ha. Is this the chance God gave me? Everyone looked at Blackbeard in confusion, not understanding what he meant by this sentence. Badgers knew Blackbeard best and understood what Blackbeard was going to do. He couldn't help smiling and said, Captain, do you mean you want to take this devil fruit? Thief ha 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 ha. Blackbeard became even more excited. That's right. I want to capture the ability of this devil fruit. If what is said in this newspaper is true, then as long as our Blackbeard pirates get this devil fruit, we will be able to rise quickly. You are really wise, Captain. Badgers gives Blackbeard a big thumbs up. This is also the reason why although his strength is not top-notch, he can become the #1 captain, and he will be popular. When Blackbeard saw this newspaper, his thoughts were completely different from others. Others thought of how to get magical items, or get Monk. And Blackbeard he wants to get Monk's devil fruit ability. Only by getting it from the source is the kingly way. Shock fruit, Blackbeard don't bother. Because the shock fruit that he valued so much now has 3 in the world, so in comparison, Blackbeard feels that the shock fruit is a bit low. With magic items, what devil fruit abilities? Blackbeard hurriedly said to everyone, it's time for us to leave. Keep chasing that straw hat brat, and hook up with Marine. Only by contacting Marine can one be closer to Monk. However, just when everyone was about to pack up their things and leave, a sullen voice sounded, as soon as I came, let me. Heard something unpleasant. Luffy is my younger brother, how dare you touch him? Everyone in the Blackbeard Pirates was stunned for a moment, and quickly looked around. On a roof, Ace squatted on top of his hat with one hand and his backpack with the other. 0.0. Okay. The members of the Blackbeard Pirates squinted their eyes, becoming wary of this unexpected guest. Only Blackbeard, he showed an exaggerated smile, opened his palms and said, "Hey. Captain." Blackbeard belonged to Ace when he was in the Whitebeard Pirates, which is one of the reasons why Ace is so angry, because he feels that he has not managed Blackbeard well. Son. Long time no see. 27. Seeing Blackbeard's bright smile, Ace's face was extremely gloomy. Teach, I'm not your captain anymore. After doing something like that, do you think you deserve to be called captain? Blackbeard sneered and didn't care. That's Sarge's bad luck. If he didn't get that devil fruit, then he wouldn't die either. Hash. Now that my dream has finally come true, I have to go my own way. Ace. Blackbeard showed his members to Ace. All of my members are powerful, you can also join my Blackbeard Pirates. We're on top of the world with dignity. Thief ha 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 ha. Blackbeard invited Ace, and Ace's face turned livid. Teach, you are so arrogant now, wait until Dad is in front of you, let's see if you are still arrogant. Ace decided not to talk nonsense, and shouted, musket. With his arms around his waist, he made a shooting gesture. Even though Monk's time travel brought a huge butterfly effect to the world, Ace's fate gear still rotates according to the original track. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Advertisement. Chapter 95 Blackbeard shocked. The magical item is so big. Advertisement. Ace was irritated by Blackbeard's indifferent attitude, and immediately used the musket against the Blackbeard pirates. Blackbeard below suddenly pounced to avoid Ace's attack. The other members also dodged separately. Fan-Auka hid behind a rock, immediately set up his gun without the slightest hesitation, and pulled the trigger of Yutong in the next second. Ace's body on the roof was pierced immediately, and holes appeared one after another, but the holes were burned with flames, and the holes were instantly restored. This surprised Fan-Auka. He is a Logia fruit-capable user, and ordinary physical attacks are ineffective against him. Blackbeard roared. Take the opportunity to spread knowledge to the members of your subordinates. Ace sneered, Blackbeard, you gathered this rabble to beat me. Come back with me obediently. Just as Ace was about to stand up and approach Blackbeard, a loud laugh sounded. Way, ha ha ha. The shadow shrouded Ace, and Ace couldn't help raising his eyebrows. When he looked up, he saw badgers lifting a huge house and smashing it down towards Ace. Ace raised his eyebrows, but soon he smiled. That's it. His fist was covered with flames, mirror flame. Huge flames sprayed out from Ace's fist, then spun and finally bombarded the huge building, blasting badgers and the huge house into the air. Ace didn't stop, turned his head and rushed towards Blackbeard. Teach. Just obediently go back with me to make amends. Facing the attacking Ace, Blackbeard also planned to hide again. He laughed grimly, and then black mist began to appear on his body. Thief ha 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 ha. Ace, let me show you why I have endured so many years in the Whitebeard Pirates, just for this devil fruit. Thief ha 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 ha, this is the most vicious devil fruit. Blackbeard and Ace go head to head. The confrontation between the two caused the entire town to be affected, and the duel between flames and darkness officially began. On the other side, 29 Naval Headquarters bowed inward. The Marshal is rectifying the harvest this time. He looked at the crane beside him and said, what do you think is the best final threshold setting if Monk's magical item is used as a reward? At least above the general level, the generals at the school level are relatively weak and easy to lose magical items. He said lightly. Once the fairy bean and the universal capsule are exposed, it will be troublesome for our marine. But now that the news of Ant has spread all over the world, I'm afraid there are quite a few people who are eyeing Monk's magical item, and even a lot of people are eyeing Monk. Sengoku rubbed his eyebrows as he said. I'm afraid that the generals will have some magical items that are difficult to protect themselves. But if you want to improve Marine's overall combat power, you must distribute magical items. Garp said. Sengoku looked at Garp, a little surprised. I didn't expect you to use your brain sometimes. Garp's face turned dark immediately. What do you mean I can use my brain sometimes? Now that Monk's fishing has reached the special level, we don't have any problem distributing the elementary magical items. Akainu folded his hands on his chest and said in a low voice. But in fact, we still have a problem at present, that is, the number of magical items is insufficient, and it is difficult to fully improve the overall strength of Marine. Yeah, Sengoku nodded. Relying on Monk alone is really difficult to fully cover the entire Marine. Yo, at yesterday's meeting, Kaido and Auntie used the fairy beans made by Vince Moke. It seems that the effect should not be as good as that of Monk's genuine ones. Kizaru rarely said something serious. As long as Vegapunk is also successfully forged, we can replace Monk's magical items with the reforged items. Why? In fact, it is not that Kizaru stopped fishing, but that besides Admiral, he also served as the Minister of Science. As long as the Ministry of Science, that is, Vegapunk has made achievements, he, the Minister, can also get a bonus. If he has money, can he not be active? Yeah, Sengoku nodded. Kizaru, I'll leave Vegapunk to you to check the situation. He also contacted me this morning and asked me to send other magical items there. It seems that the progress should be good. For this request, Kizaru did not refuse, firstly because of the bonus, and secondly because he could fish. Kizaru plans to go directly to the warship instead of going through any door, so that he will spend more time fishing. At this moment, the phone rang suddenly. Sengoku's expression changed slightly when he saw the caller, and a few seconds later, he answered the caller with a frown. On the opposite side of the phone bug, a deep voice sounded, Sengoku, didn't you say that after fishing, you will come to the Holy Land with magical items? Advertisement. Why haven't I seen your figure yet? This voice comes from the Great Elder of the Five Elders. There are a lot of things to do in Marine, and I will go to the Holy Land after I finish handling the matters. The Great Elder on the opposite side said quietly, remember to bring magical items and Monk. We're going to meet him in person. As soon as he heard that he wanted to see Monk, Sengoku's expression changed, and his tone became low. Grand Elder, I'm afraid there is something wrong. Monk is now a thorn in the side of countless pirates, and it is very dangerous to leave naval headquarters at will. We don't care about these things. There are countless strong Marines. Could it be that accidents happen when escorting a young man? The Great Elder said resolutely. In short, we need to see the magical item, and we also need to see the Monk. Sengoku shrank his eyes, and the generals from all sides also looked at each other and remained silent. Unexpectedly, Five Elders was so decisive this time. After ordering some more things, Five Elders hung up the phone. Saint Mariajoy, right between. The Great Elder put down the phone bug. The other Five Elders around couldn't help but look at him. Then the second Elder said slowly, we have to pay attention to Monk's magical item. I didn't expect to be able to make Nika reappear in the world. The fifth Elder said solemnly. Even if Nika didn't show up, the magical item in the newspaper yesterday is enough for us to pay attention. The third Elder wiped the first generation ghost blade in his hand, and then slowly swung it. While swinging, he said in a deep voice, that's right. Those magical items have far surpassed the technology of the ancient kingdom more than 900 years ago. As long as it can affect the world, it must be in our hands. Only in this way is the best. To do otherwise would be a danger to us. As Monk, Zephyr and Momosugi said on the roof last night, the world government is already planning to take Monk into its own hands. Although Marine is one of the three major institutions under the world government, there are still risks. Only what you can control is the real power. As for Sengoku, he began to have a headache for the follow-up development. It would be great if a big event could happen at this time, and I could use it as an excuse. And what Sengoku doesn't know is that Banero Island. Thief ha 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 ha. Blackbeard laughed out loud despite his injuries. Ace, darkness can be devoured, even your devil fruit ability can devour it and then nullify it. On the opposite side, Ace was injured more seriously and fell on the rubble. At this time, his face was ugly, and he gritted his teeth and said, damn it. He never thought that Blackbeard's devil fruit was so sharp that it could nullify his devil fruit. This is the first time Ace has seen such a devil fruit ability. Ace. Blackbeard's face was full of pride and ferocity. It's true that you are very strong, but for people like you who rely on devil fruit's ability, I am your nemesis, thief ha 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 ha. Surrender. I can give you another chance, join me, and let you enjoy a status that is not higher than that of the Whitebeard ship. Roll, Ace said viciously. After speaking, Ace attacked Blackbeard again, but how could Ace, who relied too much on devil fruit's ability, be Blackbeard's opponent? Mera fruit's ability was neutralized again, and then Blackbeard punched heavily in the abdomen. Although Blackbeard was also stabbed by the flame javelin he stabbed, it was extremely painful, but he could use dark fruit to absorb it. Ace spat out saliva and flew out backwards. Blackbeard seems to be timid, giving people a feeling that he is very weak, but in fact his own physical skills are not low at all. Otherwise, Blackbeard wouldn't have left a scar over the redhead's eyes. Even the redhead himself said that he was not careless at the time, which shows the terrifying strength hidden by Blackbeard. The two sides fought again for at least half an hour. In the end, Ace suffered heavy injuries and his body was covered with injuries. Blackbeard showed a sinister smile, and he wiped the blood donation from the corner of his mouth. I didn't expect it took a lot of effort. Thief ha ha ha. Captain, you are really amazing. Ha ha ha. Badgers, the fanboy, appeared immediately and flattered him. With such strength, you also want to capture our captain. Badgers had a sneer on his face. Advertisement. Can this also be the second team of the Whitebeard pirates? Doesn't that mean I can be Whitebeard? The man who claims to be the strongest doesn't have his name in vain. I have to say that Badgers is really a dog leg. Ace was gnashing his teeth in anger, but he was also a little helpless now. Blackbeard had been hiding himself all the time, never thought that his strength was beyond his imagination. The members of Blackbeard were full of sarcasm on Ace's face. In their opinion, Ace was already at the end of his battle, and in fact it was true if nothing happened. Thief haha. God really favored me. I still have a headache. What should I do if the Straw Hat Kid ran away, and now you just happen to replace me? The more Blackbeard talked, the more excited he became. No. It should be said to be excited. You can even exchange a secret that is enough to shock the world with Marine for magical items. Ace, you know that. Ace's face was extremely livid. Of course he understood what Blackbeard was talking about. That is to say, he wants to exchange his identity with Marine for magical items. Wait, magic items. Ace suddenly thought that he still had the fairy bean on his body. This thing is said to be able to restore all injuries on his body, even if he has only his last breath left. It's so amazing. Ace decided to give it a try. The physical strength pill made his eyes shine, and he believed that Shondo could also do it. Besides, now you can only treat a dead horse as a living horse doctor. Ace didn't hesitate anymore. Blackbeard was already walking, and he immediately reached out to take out the fairy beans. Blackbeard and the other members were taken aback when they saw Ace's actions. That is, beans. 350 Blackbeard and the rest of the team were a little surprised. It's time to eat beans. Does this guy like beans? Bar. Jess couldn't help laughing out loud, but Fanoka realized it later. He couldn't help raising his eyebrows, and said immediately, could it be that the magical item mentioned in the newspaper, it seems to be called fairy beans? What? Is this a magical item? It looks like an ordinary bean, right? Badgers thought it impossible, because it was so ordinary. They were so impressed by the magical item just now, they subconsciously felt that the appearance of the magical item should also be a very unique thing. Blackbeard is also non-committal. After all, he has not seen Monk's magical item with his own eyes. When everyone was communicating, Ace had already put the fairy beans into his mouth. Shondo melts in the mouth just like the physical strength pill. Ace only felt that his body was invisible and extremely comfortable, and at the same time the exhaustion from the battle just now disappeared quickly. In just a second, Ace's injuries all over his body healed, and he immediately jumped up from the ground. Then he lowered his head and looked at his body recovered to its original state, and even the scars from before the Chinese New Year disappeared, which shocked Ace. It's so amazing, the injury is really healed, and the condition is back to the peak. The state mentioned here by Ace refers to the physical exertion when the battle is just coming. On the opposite side, all members of Blackbeard were stunned when they saw the recovered Ace. Shun, instant healed. Blackbeard's eyes widened. I didn't expect that the bean, which looks ordinary enough to be ultimate, is actually a magical item. Jess was equally astonished. The efficacy of this magical item is too exaggerated. Although there is an introduction in the newspaper, reading the description is completely different from what I and others saw with their own eyes. Blackbeard and the others set off a turmoil in their hearts, the 10th time I really experienced the shocking feeling from the magical items. But the more shocking it was, the more it surprised Blackbeard. Fishing fruit. As long as you can get it, then all these powerful magical items will belong to you. Blackbeard is even more determined to get Monk's devil fruit. On Ace's side, after he recovered, he was still hesitating whether to continue to fight the king. After all, Blackbeard is stronger than he imagined, even though he has consumed a lot of Blackbeard just now, but he still has a partner by his side. Blackbeard seemed to see Ace's thoughts clearly. He chuckled and said, Ace, my dear captain. If you dare to leave, then I will catch Luffy and hand him over to Marine, thief ha 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 ha. Advertisement. Chapter 96 Blackbeard's desire for props. Vegapunk recreates fairy beans. Advertisement. Ace immediately gave up the idea of avoiding. He gritted his teeth and stared at Blackbeard. In his heyday, he can definitely leave if he wants to leave, but now, Ace must fight. On Banero Island, a huge fireball rose into the sky, Emperor Yan. However, the huge fireball was soon shrouded in terrifying darkness, and the darkness easily swallowed the fireball, and the vibration of the island quickly subsided. Although Ace has returned to his prime, he relies too much on Devil Fruit's ability. Facing Blackbeard, the Devil Fruit's nemesis, is already doomed to his end. Thief ha 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 ha. On Banero Island, Blackbeard's grinning voice resounded. It seems that the sun and the darkness, in the end, the darkness won. Ace, you can replace your brother and become the victim of my plan. Thief ha ha ha. Blackbeard laughed wildly, his eyes flickering. This time he hooked up with Marine, exchanged Ace for the title of 7 Warlords of the Sea, exchanged Ace's secret for some magical items. Then Marine got Ace, and Whitebeard's emphasis on Ace will inevitably rescue Ace from Marine's hands. Once things develop in this direction, the Whitebeard pirates and Marine will inevitably collide, leading to the outbreak of a war. And after the battle between Marine and the Whitebeard pirates, all Marine forces will be assembled, and the defense of the submarine prison will be in a free position at that time, and I can take the opportunity to go to the submarine prison. Go to the 6th floor of the submarine prison and gather your partners there. As for the prison island, it is the most mysterious floor of the submarine prison, the 7th floor. Blackbeard thinks it's better to forget it. The prisoners there are too perverted, and each of them has the 4 emperors level. Since he hasn't got the combat power of shock fruit yet, he can't suppress the prisoners there at all. Blackbeard has a lot of self-knowledge, otherwise he wouldn't have waited for dark fruit for more than 20 years. Thief ha ha ha. Thinking about his next plan, Blackbeard was already very happy in his heart. He felt that the appearance of Monk, a fisherman, and the appearance of Ace were all to lay the foundation for him to become the king of the world. God has blessed him immensely. He felt that this era would be his Blackbeard's era. Lafayette. Blackbeard thought no more, restraining his thoughts. Lafayette flapped the little wings on his back and flew towards him slowly. Captain, what do you want from me? He pressed his top hat and asked. You go to Naval Headquarters, help me contact the senior management of Naval Headquarters, and tell them Marine that I, Blackbeard, will give them a big gift. Thief ha 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 ha. Lafayette wasn't at all intimidated by Blackbeard's decision to send Lafayette to Naval Headquarters. But at this time, Badgers laughed and said, Captain, leave the errands to me, I promise to complete the task. Badgers, forget it, let Lafayette go. Blackbeard knew very well the personalities of the subordinates he summoned, and he was very clear about what some people were suitable for and what they were not suitable for. Negotiations are not suitable for Badgers. I'm afraid that if Badgers goes there, he may fight with the Marine executives at Naval Headquarters. That would not only cause him trouble, but also greatly delay his plan. Badgers didn't say any more. A dog's leg must look like a dog's leg. Lafayette quickly broke away from the team and headed to Naval Headquarters alone. Before all the forces knew about it, the trigger incident on Banero Island had already been ignited. At this time, the Whitebeard pirates naturally didn't know about it. On the way back to New World from Sabayati Archipelago, neither Whitebeard nor the redhead standing beside him looked very good. Who released Conqueror's Haki last night, which is enough to be called the top of the world? Marine. Impossible, absolutely impossible to be someone from Marine. If anyone in Marine has that Conqueror's Haki, Marine has already begun to spread its power to the New World. But who would it be if it wasn't Marine? When the two emperors went there was no one there, which instantly reminded Whitebeard, Hongfa and others of Monk's magical item, any door. Only any door can leave quietly. As for whether it would be Monk, the young man who is slowly subverting the world, Whitebeard and the redhead didn't think about him at all. Advertisement. How powerful can a little kid who came into their field of vision with the ability of Devil Fruit be? Breaking the sky is also the strength of the school level. As for Monk's defeat of Jack, Big Mom didn't announce it to the public, so only Kaido and Big Mom knew about it. On the high back chair, Whitebeard looked solemn. He rubbed his eyebrows and said in a low voice, I don't know why, but I always have an ominous premonition. Hee hee. On the side, the redhead on the Mobity chuckled and looked at Whitebeard. Actually, you don't need to pay too much attention to it. I guess it should be some old guys from the past who found it interesting after seeing the magical item, so they showed up. The redhead thinks that the Conqueror's Haki probably came from the strong man of the old era. Whitebeard shook his head. Yuck. It's not that I'm upset because of Conqueror's Haki last night, it's just that something bad is going to happen. Call. Whitebeard let out a long breath. It always feels like a storm is coming. Ah. The redhead shook his head and laughed. Hasn't the eve of the storm already arrived? Whitebeard also laughed. That's right. No one expected that a character like Monk would suddenly appear. The Mobity gradually disappeared into the depths of the sea. On the other side, Kizaru is basking in the sun leisurely on the bow of the boat. At this time, he is heading to the Dianguang island where Vegapangshu is located. From time to time, I would take a sip of the motai on the side. Yo. Immediately, Kizaru made a voice of emotion. It feels really good to realize the freedom of motai. Although Sengoku rejected Kizaru's resignation application, when he started fishing, he went to find Monk and mingled with him, so that he could get motai for free from time to time, which made Kizaru very satisfied. I don't know if the old man in Vegapunk has analyzed and reproduced it. It shouldn't be a big problem. That half-assed guy from Vince Mokay's family can analyze it successfully. Speaking of this, Kizaru couldn't help but smile. It seems that he, the Minister of Science, has a stable bonus. Kizaru's marine warship headed for Tangian Island. On Dangian Island at this time, the clone of Vegapunk #1 wearing a very sci-fi helmet is contacting the outside world. No. 1-inch Shihia said with his magnetic voice. Long, I don't think you should contact me at this time. The voice of the dragon on the opposite side sounded faintly. You must have read the newspaper last night, right? If you read it, then you should understand why I came to you. Hee hee. Although I have been immersing myself in research, I am still very well informed about the news from the outside world. Jung smiled lightly. Sengoku's nephew, the guy who fished devil fruit, has fished something new and awesome. Indeed, to be able to remove the devil fruit's curse is really unexpected. Jung replied. His technology refreshes my imagination every time. Vegapunk prefers to call Monk technology rather than magical items. The dragon didn't care what Vegapunk called the magical item, and went straight to the point. How is your analysis of Monk's magical item? Is it done? Hey, Long, do you think I figured it out? The other party suddenly changed his voice into a mischievous old man. This made the dragon startled for a moment, and then he couldn't help but sneered. It seemed that the main body of Vegapunk was coming. Of course I hope you can figure it out, Vegapunk. Your words show that you still don't believe me. As an old friend, I feel extremely sad. If Monk is here, he must feel that Oda must have designed the image of Vegapunk according to Einstein. The other side was a bit unscrupulous about Vegapunk. Long was used to it, but after hearing him say this, he immediately raised his eyebrows and showed joy. It seems that you have successfully analyzed it. Ha ha. Beside Long, Sabo was extremely surprised. It was the first time he saw Long, the commander, so happy. Thinking of the magical items introduced in the information sent by Vegapunk a few days ago, Sabo felt very reasonable again. After all, Monk's magical items are truly magical. Advertisement. On the opposite side of the phone bug, Vegapunk said helplessly, the analysis is done, but not all of it can be analyzed, and even if it is analyzed, it can't be as perfect as the original magical item. Long couldn't help frowning. He never thought that the magical item would make Vegapunk a little bit difficult. Then what did you engrave? This is what Long is most concerned about. But the other party, Vegapunk, didn't answer the dragon's question, and said to himself, Dragon, you don't know how exquisite that magical item called any door is. Using the principle of space, the principle of folding space makes me completely clueless. There is also the universal capsule, which also uses the principle of space, so exquisite that it is unparalleled. The more Vegapunk spoke, the more excited he became, and the dragon felt as if he was about to jump up. This gave the dragon a headache. He didn't even want to know, Vegapunk. As for knowledge, you just need to know it yourself. Now I want to know what kind of magical item you forged. On the opposite side, Vegapunk suddenly showed a look of disappointment. The wealth of knowledge is something you can't experience in your life. The dragon didn't care either. Vegapunk began to talk about the magical items he reproduced. Analyzed the fairy beans, and then I made a replica, but the replicas are not perfect, and the efficacy is less than half of the genuine ones. Less than half. Long couldn't help frowning. Would that be possible to recover from an extremely serious injury? That's okay, but the speed of recovery is not as exaggerated as the original Shondo. Long's eyes lit up immediately. As long as he could heal serious injuries, that would be enough. As for the speed not being so exaggerated, that's fine. Anyway, it can be counted as a panacea. The rebirth of a broken arm can be done. This Vegapunk is hesitant. It can be done, but the genuine fairy beans are instantly reborn. The fairy beans I reproduced want to be reborn. I guess I will have to continue to take the fairy beans for a year. Quote. Long was surprised after hearing the words. It takes a year. However, I feel that if I analyze it further, I can be more effective. Closer to the original, it is estimated that it can reach about 80%. At that time, the speed of healing recovery should be accelerated, and the rebirth time of the broken arm should be controlled within 1 day. Long Shenyan nodded. Then I'll trouble you, Vegapunk. This is acceptable for 1 day. Then, Vegapunk continued to talk about other miraculous items that were engraved, such as memory bread, physical strength pills, and universal capsules and other miraculous items. As for the magical item of any door, Vegapunk can't analyze it yet. However, the functions or effects of the engraved magical items can only reach about 50% of the original ones, which are only low, and none of them can surpass them. Long listened very carefully, nodding while listening. After Vegapunk finished speaking, he asked a very critical question: can it be mass-produced? Of course, Vegapunk affirmed. As long as there are funds, materials, and equipment, mass production can be achieved. Great. Long excitedly clenched his fists. As long as mass production can be achieved, it will bring huge benefits to the revolutionary army. But at the moment I guess I will encounter some problems. Vegapunk's tone was a bit distressed. Are you afraid that Marine will ask you? Long asked immediately. That's right. Vegapunk nodded. That's exactly what I'm worried about. I've contacted Marine and asked them to bring other magical items. Marine will definitely send someone to check the results. Long thought for a while, and then the corners of his mouth were drawn. It's okay, just follow my words, Tang Han Marine is fine. All over the world, even remote places in the world, have received news after a day. Monk and Monk's magical items make the whole world boil. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Advertisement. Chapter 97 Sengoku. I'm having a headache, but you guys are throwing a party. Advertisement. Because the ant released the news of the magical item spread throughout the world, making people all over the world aware of the existence of the magical item, and at the same time they were shocked by the improvement that the magical item brought to Marine. First of all, everyone was shocked that Marine went to face the Shuangwang twice in a row. After so many years, Marine is finally going to attack the 4 emperors. It has been nearly 20 years since the opening of the Age of Discovery, and finally first saw Marine move. Marine alone can fight against the 4 sea emperors of New World. Didn't you look at the back? The back is the focus. Marine produced a monk, and the newspapers said that with his own power, Marine's overall strength has been directly raised to a higher level. So heaven-defying. Is it true that just one person can raise Marine to a higher level? Don't you all read the newspaper? All over the world, people are exclaiming about Monk's magical items, which can be regarded as refreshing one of their 3 views. Is there a door where you can go wherever you want? Doesn't that mean that the sea is no longer an obstacle? What is any door? Look at this universal capsule, which can hold an entire marine battleship, and its size is smaller than our palm. What's the point? Have you seen the one called Age What Rope? What is the concept of being able to restore youth? It means that you can achieve immortality. The miraculous items written on it are getting more miraculous one by one. Is it the nonsense from Marine? Probably yes. In order to increase the prestige, it is really shameless. To increase the prestige is to increase the prestige. How dare you use so many things to talk nonsense? Not a single thing on it seems to me to be true. That's right. I thought so too. It's too fake. Even those legends are not so outrageous. Most people in the world don't believe this newspaper, and think that it's a piece of news that Marine made up for himself in order to enhance his prestige. After all, each of the above things is too refreshing. If it is true, the world view they have established will be smashed to pieces. So, most people choose not to believe what the newspapers say. Furthermore, for these 940 ordinary people, they don't care about the strategic value of magical items at all. Awakened Conqueror's Haki, random devil fruit, and lightning pills are all too unfamiliar to ordinary people. People all over the world are shocked, and few people really care about the news. But in the eyes of those strong men who hide in the dark, it is different. Sky Island. Countless islands were suspended in midair, and in the huge courtyard above them, Golden Lion frowned as he looked at the newspaper in his hand. What aircraft is Marine doing? Monk, magical item. Golden Lion was almost stunned at first, but calmed down a bit. He also couldn't be sure whether the news in the newspaper was true or false. After pondering for a while, he decided to go to New World and ask that guy from Whitebeard. If it's true, then I can use mystical items to recover my injuries and return to my peak. Golden Lion said with a grin. God help me too. He felt that the sudden appearance of such a boy named Monk was to give him a chance to return to the top. On the vast sea, a huge ferry is sailing. This huge ferry looks like a small island, a golden island. This is the Golden City, the largest entertainment venue in the world. Inside the towering building, the Golden Emperor, Disilo sat on a chair made of gold. In front of him was a newspaper that was also made of gold. Monk, magical item. Disilo's lightly frowned brows quickly relaxed, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. As long as the value is in place, you can buy anything, right? Ha ha ha, advertisement. Disilo's pupils flickered, he planned to use money to buy magical items. In his view, as long as you have money, you can buy everything. Because of Kaido's plan, coupled with the help of Big Mom, the queen of the industry, all major powers in the world have already grasped the news of marine and the news of magical items. Monk has fully entered the field of vision of all forces. This made everyone in Marine feel a headache and pressure, because everyone began to pay attention to Marine's magical items, which greatly increased the chance of the magical items being released. But there is no way to do this. If you want to improve the Marine's overall strength, you must give the magical items to the corresponding generals, so that they can be more powerful. Naval Headquarters, Naval Headquarters. At this moment, Sengoku's headache is mainly not because of the newspaper published the night before, but because he can't find an excuse to let Monk not go to the holy place Mariajoy. Once Monk goes to the Holy Land, I'm afraid the 5 elders will fall in love with him. In fact, according to the value of Monk's magical items, 5 elders will definitely protect Monk in every possible way, but Sengoku doesn't want this. Because in this way, Monk will become a tool man of the world government, and there will be no freedom at all. Furthermore, Sengoku didn't want Monk to be like the celestial dragons. Although Sengoku often reprimanded Garp not to talk nonsense, it is impossible to blaspheme the celestial dragons, but the most important thing is his position as the Marine Marshal. Why doesn't he know that most of the celestial dragons are a bunch of bastards? However, compared to the small number of people persecuted by the celestial dragons, the rule of the world government can bring peace to most people in this world, and the sacrifice of a small number of people is very worthwhile. This is what he should consider in his current position. After all, once there is no restraint from the world government, the Marine will be difficult to maintain and will be disbanded. At that time, the sea will be completely plunged into darkness, and every trace of Guanming will disappear. Hey, on the side, Garp groped for the shelves and said with a smile, what? Sengoku, you are having a headache. Will Monk be recruited by the world government? In my opinion, you should just be tougher and let the world government know that our Marines are not easy to mess with, so that they will not dare to call us around easily in the future. Sengoku gave Garp a blank look. If it's as simple as I told you, that's fine. If I dare to show my toughness, do you believe that I won't be the Marine Marshal tomorrow? Hey, I told you not to climb up the ladder before, but you insisted that this is your ambition to become the Marine Marshal. Now you feel that you can't help yourself. After Garp finished speaking, he let out a surprise. Speaking of Sengoku, where did you hide the senbei this time? Why can't I find it? Sengoku didn't continue to pay attention to Garp. If he is not the Marine Marshal now, it will be even more troublesome if Monk comes out. Garp knows farts. At the same time, Sengoku felt relieved. The old Garp always wants to prostitute my senbei for free. This time he hid it in the universal capsule, so Garp can't find it. Sengoku thought happily. At this time, Crane, consultant, who had been watching the performance of the two said, Sengoku, why are you in trouble? You don't want and don't represent what Monk thinks. Go and ask him directly. He has grown up and has his own ideas and plans. You, an elder, can't always pave the way for him. He's only 18 too. CJED, what's wrong with 18 years old? Look at Garp's grandson, who turned East Blue upside down, and knocked Clodagh off the stage. Luffy is an example. Sengoku couldn't help twitching the corner of his mouth. I'm going to get angry when I talk about that straw hat kid. Saying that, Sengoku looked at Garp and said, Garp, why don't you discipline your grandson? Now you only need to go in and squat for a few years, don't wait until things get serious, and follow in your son's footsteps, that's a capital offense. Garp kept silent, digging his ears as if he didn't hear it, and continued to look for the senbei. Crane looked away from Garp, and continued, how should I put it, the current monk is also a strong man who has defeated one of the 3 disasters. Listening to Crane's words, Sengoku mused and thought it made sense. Yes, the current monk is already a strong player who can defeat one of Kaido's 3 major kanbans. He has his own ideas and his own path. Sengoku got up quickly. I'll go ask the guy and see what he does on weekdays by the way. He found that his uncle had never seen his nephew except when he was fishing. I don't know if this guy is practicing well. Before, Sengoku gave Momosuke the task to train Monk in taijutsu, and now that Zephyr is also with Monk, he should be able to supervise Mengshin even better as he was an instructor. Thinking of this, Sengoku couldn't help but smile. I have to say that Monk really surprised me when he bombarded Jack. Advertisement. While thinking that he should be able to see the practicing Monk later, he walked quickly towards Monk's residence. Soon came to Monk's residence, and heard a woman's voice before entering. Wow, really rejuvenated. Shao Ke, Hina also wants the source rope of age. It can be heard that this voice belongs to Hina, even if Sengoku can't hear the voice, he can still hear who it is from Hina's mantra. Sengoku couldn't help but stop, and then another female voice sounded. Shao Ke, you are really amazing. In the entire marine, you are the only man who can get into my eyes. Come, reward your kiss. It was a voice Sengoku was familiar with, it was Momosuke's voice. Listening to the voice in the room, Sengoku's face turned green. He gritted his teeth, pushed it out of the room, and scolded, "How decent are you doing this?" Sengoku slammed the door open, immediately stopping the voices of everyone in the room, and all the people in the room looked at Monk. Sengoku at the door saw that not only Monk, Hina and Momosuke were present, but also Zephyr and Kizaru, and several people in blue. Kizaru. Blue people. Sengoku was stunned, his mind was short-circuited. In the room, Momosuke had just finished using the circle rope of the age, and the Myriad Realms prop just disappeared. Because she was too excited to regain her youth, Momosuke wanted to rush to reward Monk with a kiss. And Hina at the side flashed his eyes envious to ultimate, and grabbed Monk's arm with all his strength, wanting to regain his youth. Hina also put on other outfits, intellectual tight-fitting workplace uniforms. But this is not the most outrageous are Kizaru and Zephyr. The two were lying on two beach chairs on the beach opposite any door, basking in the sun in swimsuits. How leisurely you want to be. You. Sengoku's eyes widened. With a look of astonishment on his face, he never thought that he would see such a scene when he came here. It turned out that he thought that Momosuke would let Monk practice, and at least Zephyr, a steady senior, would not make any troubles, but what he didn't expect was that even Zephyr fell. And isn't Kizaru on his way to find Vegapunk? Why is he here? Sengoku still remembers that he originally asked Kizaru to use the arbitrary door, but this guy refused because it was too wasteful, saying that he wanted to save the arbitrary door for Marine. Now, use any door to appear here now. Also, who are those blue-skinned people who are cleaning the room and helping pour water and drinks? Everything made Sengoku stunned at the door for dozens of seconds. It subverted his cognition of the Marine Marshal too much. After a while, Sengoku's face darkened to ultimate. UB******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** it. It's fine to enjoy it, and it's bad for Zephyr, Momoshiki, Kizaru, Hina and other generals. Sengoku almost exploded with anger, and sent the pass to Monk to hit the head. Monk was speechless, screaming in pain, and said, "Uncle, what do you mean I lead them badly? It's obvious that they are older than me, right? They are the ones who led me into trouble." On the opposite side of any door, Kizaru and Zephyr were a carp when they saw Sengoku actually came to check the water meter. Kizaru immediately took out any door and was about to go back to his own warship, but was glared by Sengoku's eyes full of murderous intent, and at the same time said quietly, "Kizaru, don't you explain too." *********. Advertisement. Chapter 98 Mission must be achieved and Gourmet's tablecloth. Advertisement. Monk room. Sengoku folded his hands on his chest, scanning the few people in front of him. Everything from the party just now has been put away. Others are fine, but Monk is miserable, with a lump on his head. Sengoku, who was just furious, beat him with Haki, so it hurts extra. If it wasn't for the sake of you being my uncle, there would be no end to this time. Monk gritted his teeth in his heart. Sengoku seemed to see Monk's mind clearly, and snorted coldly. "Why, you still know it hurts I just want to teach you a lesson, you brat, otherwise your life would be too comfortable." However, before Sengoku could finish speaking, he saw an extra fairy bean in Monk's hand, and after taking the fairy bean, the lump on his head disappeared immediately. Sengoku's breathing became heavy, and he blew his beard again and stared. "Good guy, I want to teach you a lesson, so that you can remember. Do you co-author and show me many magical items here? If you have a bag on the top of your head, you can eat fairy beans. The lowest price for a fairy bean is 200 W Bailey, and a primary fishing at 200 W Bailey may not be 100% free, and the value has to be calculated. A bit. Nima is simply a prodigal." Rubbing the space between his eyebrows, Sengoku felt that if he stayed here longer, his blood pressure would probably go up. He let out a breath slowly. "That is to say, those dummy just now, and that gourmet cloth are also magical items." "Uncle, that's not called a dummy, it's called, mission must be fulfilled." After making some complaints, Monk smiled and said, "That's right, these two things are also magical items. One is called the mission must reach box, and the other is called the gourmet's tablecloth. The former can summon missions that must be achieved, the latter can summon all kinds of delicacies." As Monk said, he also demonstrated it to Sengoku, and asked Sengoku to hammer Sengoku. The latter's face was pale, but because mission must not have any combat power, it didn't hurt Sengoku at all, so he didn't care about it with Monk. Up. Otherwise, he must continue to cut down his nephew, since he is hovering on the verge of death. Then Monk demonstrated the gourmet tablecloth. Sengoku picked up the food and tasted it, and his eyes brightened immediately. "Excellent. This is simply the best food in the world." Sengoku almost wanted to dance happily, but fortunately, his restraint ability was relatively good, so he controlled himself. Both of these are good stuff. Sengoku itself is also a foodie, otherwise he would not often put senbei and various snacks in the office. Mouth broken. So I was very concerned about the gourmet tablecloth, and immediately said, "These two things are new magical items, hand them in first, and then return them to you after the Vegapunk is reproduced." Sengoku is also very satisfied with open black lens bracket. Mission must be done close black lens bracket. As long as it is summoned, the task will be completed before it will disappear, and the cost is only 100 Baileys once. It is simply an artifact for handling official business. So Sengoku found an excuse to prostitute these two magical items from his nephew for free. Monk naturally knew what his uncle was thinking, but his refusal was ineffective, so he had to curse inwardly. He remembered this gift. To be honest, if Sengoku was not his uncle, Monk would probably die of disgust immediately. But think about it, if he can have these two things, it's all for nothing Marine, and it seems that it would be a pity if he didn't have them. Sengoku put away mission must achieve and gourmet's tablecloth with a smile. Then turned to look at Kizaru, this guy. Sengoku doesn't want to say anything anymore, fishing is becoming more and more daring now. After reprimanding Kizaru, Zephyr and other generals, Sengoku did not intend to continue this topic, and first talked about the important matters of this visit. He looked at Monk and was about to speak when suddenly his phone buzzed. After Sengoku swallowed the words, he answered the phone bug. Monk, Zephyr, Momosugi and others also looked at Sengoku one after another, while Kizaru took advantage of this opportunity, quickly took out any door and slipped back to his warship. Soon Sengoku asked in surprise, Blackbeard's crew. Momosugi, Hina, Zephyr and others were also surprised, who was Blackbeard? Because Blackbeard hid so deeply on Whitebeard's ship before, even Marine didn't offer him a bounty, and it wasn't until the incident broke out that he defected from the Whitebeard pirates. Marine and the big guest forces outside knew that Whitebeard still had this person under his command exist. For a while, Sengoku, Zephyr and others didn't remember who Blackbeard was. But Monk, the traveler, knows it very well. How can I say that Blackbeard is very likely to be the existence of the last boss, and he is very famous? It's the guy who killed Whitebeard's fourth team and defected to the Whitebeard pirates. Monk said, and at the same time, he also had some guesses in his mind. At this point in time, is the battle between Blackbeard and Ace over? Advertisement. Ace got caught. To be honest, Monk is still very surprised by this development. His appearance has changed the development of the world so much, but he never thought that Ace could not escape his fate in the end. The fuse on the top. Monk's words reminded Sengoku of who Blackbeard was. Zephyr, Tiaomian and Hina looked at Monk in amazement. It's surprising. I didn't expect you to pay attention to the affairs of the sea. Momosugi said in surprise. You must know that Monk is bad every day, and the newspapers don't read much. Nonsense. I know more about the sea than you have ever eaten. Momosugi was stunned for a while, and wanted to say that Monk farted, but now she thought that she was hugging Monk's thigh, so she shut up. Little kid bragging, I don't need to be as knowledgeable as him. Sengoku listened to the phone bug, and his vision soon became clear. Fire Fist, Ace. Blackbeard actually wanted to catch the Fire Fist, Ace. Haha, you asked that guy named Tay to wait for me in the living room, I'll go there right away. Sengoku's face was full of joy, firstly because he was able to catch the Fire Fist, Ace, and secondly because this gave him a reason not to take Monk to the Holy Land Mariajoy these days. Double joy 1. Sengoku decided not to tell Monk about the Holy Land, and got up to leave. Uncle, I'll go too. Monk suddenly stopped Sengoku and said. Sengoku turned his head in amazement, he suspected that he had heard wrong. On the side Zephyr, Momosugi and Hina were even more surprised, they all stared at Monk with wide eyes. Xiaokei, are you still the Xiaokei I know? Jumping Rabbit complained. After Monk helped her regain her youth, Momosugi changed her name again, and called Monk Xiaokei. Monk is speechless, why are you so surprised? I'm so miserable. Monk didn't want to pay attention to them. This time the incident involved the fuse of the Summit War, so he naturally wanted to take a look. As for changing the direction of Summit War, Monk has no interest. Anyway, the few people he cares about are very safe at the top, and he doesn't bother to take the initiative to change anything. In today's world, Monk is most familiar with his uncle, Momosugi, and Zephyr. Hina has only been here for a few days, and Monk is still not familiar with her. Even if Hina died on a mission now, Monk's heart will not be moved. If you can save it, you can save it, if you can't save it, you can't save it, and that's it. Only Sengoku, Zephyr and Momosugi have an accident, and Monk will take care of it. Surprises are surprises, Sengoku still has no objection to Monk wanting to be with him. On the contrary, it should be said that I am a little relieved that this guy Monk is finally planning to do something serious. Soon, Monk followed Sengoku, followed by Momosugi, Luffy and Master Hina. The three of them put on their formal clothes again. After all, they had to face outsiders, and they still had to have a face and an image. Marine's welcome lobby. Monk and others met Lafayette. After seeing Sengoku, Lafayette could not help but press politely, put the cane in his hand behind him, and bowed to Sengoku. This guy doesn't look like a pirate, he is gentle and polite. Momosugi whispered to Monk, Zephyr and others. Ah, Monk couldn't help but sneered. Polite. Momosugi, you have been in the army for many years, how can you judge a person by the first impression when you meet for the first time? Momosugi couldn't help curling her lip at Monk's teasing of herself. Seeing this, Zephyr also said, Monk is right, the first impression cannot judge a person at all. Many vicious people who kill without batting an eye are very good at disguising themselves. While Monk and others were discussing in a low voice, Sengoku also nodded to Lafayette, and then asked, where is Fire Fist Ace now? Asterisk. Sengoku got straight to the point as soon as he opened his mouth. The corner of Lafayette's mouth draws a line. As expected of a soldier, he went straight to the point when he came. At the same time, Lafayette also paid attention to the people behind Sengoku, and was amazed by the two female soldiers, Yi and Hina. Unexpectedly, there is such a beautiful woman in Marine. Advertisement. As for Zephyr, Lafayette directly ignored it, and what made him care about was Monk. Of course, he didn't know that the boy was Blackbeard's monk. I just feel that being able to follow martial marine at such a young age must be a genius. Withdrawing his gaze, Lafayette continued with a smile. Don't worry, Marshal. The place where Fire Fist is located is quite far from naval headquarters, it's useless to worry. I want to convey to you some of my captain's requests first, and after you agree, I will take you to meet Fire Fist, Ace. Sengoku didn't have any expression on his face. When facing outsiders, he showed his commanding temperament to the fullest. Oh, didn't you say you want the title of Shichibukai? As long as you don't show off your cleverness, and hand over the Fire Fist, Ace to our marine, there is no problem with the title of Shichibukai. Hee hee. Lafayette chuckled again. Our captain said that he still has a secret, and this secret door shocked Marine up and down, making the whole world boil over it. First hope Marine can pay the price in exchange. Sengoku frowned. The person named Lafayette in front of him is talking too much nonsense, right? You can just tell me the location of Fire Fist, Ace, and I will talk about the specifics after I meet your captain. That can't be done. My captain told me that I can take you there only if you agree. Lafayette still grinned. Sengoku, Zephyr, Momosuke and Hina are all going to die of depression, is this guy sick? Didn't even tell you what secret it is that Marine agrees to the terms. Even without knowing the value of this secret, how could Sengoku agree? But the other party said that it can shock the entire Marine and make the whole world boil, which makes Sengoku very concerned. And when the communication between the two sides reached a stalemate, Monk said directly, damn it, Lafayette, you really talk a lot of nonsense. Lafayette originally had a smile on his face, but when he heard the boy's sudden opening, he couldn't help being taken aback. He didn't understand how this young man dared to speak up, and what qualifications did he have to speak up. There is Marshal Sengoku here, is it his turn to speak? It's okay to even open your mouth, but what's the matter with such a tone? I keep smiling, do I really think I'm easy to mess with? Lafayette's smile disappeared, and his eyes stared at Monk faintly, his eyes full of unkindness. Monk is not afraid at all. To be honest, if he was not too lazy to do it, he would do it directly. He was able to beat Jack with lightning pills before, but now Monk doesn't need lightning pills, and he can beat Lafayette to the point of crying. It can only be said that Lafayette should be thankful that Monk is lazy, which saved his life. Monk took out any door, then looked at Momosuke, and asked directly, does Momosuke know where Banaro Island is? Sengoku, Zephyr, Tiaomian and others did not understand what Monk was trying to do. And Lafayette was also a little confused for a while, because he heard Banaro Island. How did this kid know about Banaro Island? What's the situation? Momosuke shook her head and said, I don't know. Because Banaro Island is on one of the Grand Lines, Momosuke is often at naval headquarters, so it is not clear where it is. Hina knows. Hina said. She came here from the branch, and Bana Island is near the branch where she was before. Then you come to open any door. Monk stepped back and faced the door. Okay. Hina immediately went to open the door. And Sengoku, Momosuke, Zephyr and others looked at Monk's actions in a daze. What are you doing? Sengoku asked puzzled. Take you guys to find Ace. Monk replied of course. Sengoku, Zephyr, Momosuke, in the end was Lafayette, who lived up to his previous elegance, opened his mouth slightly, and said hello on his forehead. This kid really knows. At the same time, Lafayette was puzzled. What kind of door is this? Righteous. Advertisement. Chapter 99 Blackbeard. Why does this kid keep interrupting? Marine. This kid is the boss of Marine now. Advertisement. Lafayette was really confused. He didn't understand why the young man in front of him would know the current location of the Blackbeard pirates. Totally unreasonable. And what the hell is this door in front of you? Lafayette saw the scene in front of him. It was a blur. Looking for Ace. Sengoku, Zephyr and others were equally astonished. Could it be that Ace is on Banaro Island? Zephyr asked. Monk smiled, but did not continue to answer Zephyr's question. After Hina opened the door and any door connected to Banaro Island, Monk sneered, looked at Lafitte and said, okay, Banaro Island is here, just lead the way, don't talk nonsense. I'm afraid that Genin will cut you down. Monk said roughly. This is not a joke Monk, he really can't help but cut Lafitte. Grinding and chirping, still pretending to be pretending. Lafitte was stunned, this boy dared to talk to him like this, is he courting death? He couldn't help but look at Sengoku. But Lafitte soon found out in astonishment that Sengoku didn't feel dissatisfied with the kid's offense, but rather respected the kid. This made Lafitte curious about the identity of this young man. Who is this young man? Could it be that? Lafitte looked at the scene on the other side of any door, and felt that his head was about to burst into smoke, and it turned out to be the scene of Banaro Island. Fortunately, he had read the newspaper before he came yesterday, and he had already been shocked in advance, and now his receptivity has become stronger. In other words, you have to be mentally prepared in advance. This should be the magical item called 170, called any door. Although he said that he was prepared in his heart, after seeing the magic of the magical item with his own eyes, Tay was still moved. This is no longer magical. However, the reason why Blackbeard sent Lafitte to naval headquarters also has his merits. He pretended to be calm, regained his smile and said, we caught Ace on Banaro Island, but now we're not on Banaro Island. Monk didn't want to talk nonsense with Lafitte at all, and said lightly, Momosuke. Momosuke immediately understood what Monk meant and drew his sword immediately. Lafitte couldn't help frowning. He really couldn't bear it anymore. No matter what the identity of the boy opposite was, this was too arrogant, right? He couldn't help looking at Sengoku and said, Marshal, our Blackbeard pirates came here with good intentions, and we want to make friends with you Marine. You just let your subordinates treat me like this. Sengoku shrugged. My kid is wayward, and I can't help it. My boy. Lafitte caught Sengoku's words, and immediately knew that the boy in front of him was right. It seems that this is demon fruit power, Sengoku's nephew. This time Rafit guessed the approximate identity of the young man in front of him. Monk, Sengoku's nephew, the protagonist of the newspaper the day before yesterday, the originator of all magical items. No wonder Sengoku, no. It should be said that Marine's attitude towards him is so tolerant, so it was like this once. After thinking about everything, Lafitte didn't say anything, and finally chose to lead the way. He walked slowly to the front of any door, looking at the different scenes of the other side of any door, he couldn't help feeling deeply moved. It's no wonder that the magical items will shock the whole world. The arbitrary door in it can allow Sengoku, Zephyr and all Marine members to go anywhere in the world in naval headquarters, and the sea will no longer be a hindrance. How can such a heaven-defying magical item not be exciting? But Blackbeard said that after the formation of the pirate group is formed, they will start to go to all over the world to plunder devil fruit. As long as there is this arbitrary door, the efficiency will be increased countless times at least. While thinking about this, Lafitte stepped into the room. Behind them, Sengoku and others followed Lafitte, and they went to find Blackbeard under the leadership of Lafitte. Behind Lafitte, Sengoku looks at Monk as he walks. He was very curious, how did the boy Monk know that Blackbeard and Ace were on Banero Island? But the timing is not right now, Sengoku didn't choose to ask, and he will ask again after returning. At the same time, in the ruined town in the east, Blackbeard and the others were eating and drinking. Advertisement. I don't know what happened to Lafitte. Badgers murmured after taking a sip of his wine. Hey, there is a high probability that the title of 7 Warlords of the Sea is no problem. As for the second requirement, Marine should be the best. Blackbeard said with a smile. However, no one in Marine knows this secret, and even those who know it will not reveal it. Because if this news gets out, not only the Marines will be up and down, but the world government, all forces, and even the whole world will be boiled. Thief ha 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 ha. In Blackbeard's view, except for a small number of people, no one will know about Ace's news. Did you say so, Ace? Blackbeard looked at Ace and said with a smile. Ace was tied aside, his body was full of injuries, and he was in a terrible state of embarrassment. Still, he gritted his teeth and looked at Blackbeard viciously. However, at this moment, Fan Oka's surprised voice sounded. Captain, there is Marine. After hearing the words, Blackbeard didn't care much. I guess they came to investigate after hearing the news, so ignore them. However, Van Oka continued. No, it's not an ordinary Marine. And Lafitte is still leading them. Blackbeard was stunned when he heard that. What do you mean? Isn't it an ordinary Marine? Lafitte is still leading the way. Didn't Lafitte just leave yesterday? Come back so soon. The other members also looked curiously at the direction Van Oka was looking at, and immediately saw Lafitte and the Marine members behind him. Blackbeard looked astonished. The leading Marine is it Marshal Marine, Sengoku? What's the situation? Marshal Marine came in person. And the time for Lafitte to go to naval headquarters and back is too fast, right? There were countless doubts in Blackbeard's mind, but he suppressed them in the end. Anyway, let's see the situation first. Soon, Lafitte brought Sengoku, Monk and others to Blackbeard. Blackbeard smiled immediately. I really didn't expect that Marshal Marine would come in person. I, Blackbeard, lost my way, I'm really sorry. Yo, there's even the former Admiral Black Arm Zephyr. Quote. Blackbeard greeted Sengoku and Zephyr with a few words. Zephyr, the former admiral, is still very famous, so Blackbeard knows him. Others, such as Momosugi and Hina, Blackbeard did not recognize. As for Monk, Blackbeard didn't even know who it was, but because he was young, he followed behind the marshal, so he took a few extra glances. Zephyr didn't speak, and Sengoku in front of him glanced at the scene. Blackbeard and his members are not too famous, and Sengoku doesn't know him. However, what Sengoku cares most about is the ace who was tied up by all kinds of flowers. Fire Fist, Ace. This Whitebeard's second team was defeated. It seems that everyone in the Blackbeard pirates should not be underestimated. Blackbeard didn't get a response to his politeness, and he didn't mind either. This is Blackbeard's character, enough forbearance. He showed a toothless smile, and said with a smile, since Marshal, you will appear here, it seems that you have agreed to my conditions. Sengoku looked back at Ace and nodded. Seeing Sengoku nod, Blackbeard was immediately elated. It would be great to have the title of 7 Warlords of the Sea and be able to use the secret of Ace identity to trade magical items. But soon, Sengoku shook his head again, which made Blackbeard stunned, showing deep puzzlement. What the hell? Why did you nod your head just now, and now you shake your head again? So did you agree, or did you not? No promise because Lafitte will bring Sengoku and them here. Only Sengoku said. It's no problem to give you the title of 7 Warlords of the Sea, but your second request. To make a deal with our Marine, the premise is that I need to know what you want to trade, and whether your secret is worth it or not. Blackbeard couldn't help but look at Lafitte, good guy. The co-author of the second request Marine just didn't agree. At the beginning, Blackbeard told Lafitte to bring Marine only after Marine agreed. Now that Marine didn't agree, why did he bring him here? Blackbeard's idea is to hang Marine with a huge secret, forcing Marine to agree. As long as Marine agrees, then when he says he wants to trade magical items, as long as Marine refuses, he can use this as an argument. Being stared at by his own captain, Lafitte felt very helpless. Advertisement. He didn't want to bring Marine, but that boy who could be monk somehow knew that our base was on Banaro Island. Hee hee. Sengoku chuckled. It's not that the members of your command are not doing well, our Marine's eyeliner knows your whereabouts, so our Marine directly uses any door to come here. The corners of Sengoku's mouth couldn't help but draw a slight outline as he spoke. Any door. That is, the magical item mentioned in the newspaper. Blackbeard was very surprised, but he didn't expect it to be as magical as described in the newspaper. The more proof, the more excited Blackbeard is. He must find a way to obtain magical items and fishing fruits. Blackbeard. Sengoku interrupted Blackbeard's thoughts. Since we are face to face now, let's be straightforward. What do you want to trade with us, Marine? And what is that secret you speak of? Hey, Blackbeard flashed his cheesy smile. Sengoku, as the Marine Marshal, you should know a truth, that is, once a secret is revealed, it is no longer a secret. I will only reveal this secret if you promise me first. After a pause, Blackbeard smiled more and more. I guarantee that this secret will definitely satisfy you, and it is enough weight. Thief, ha ha ha. Sengoku couldn't help frowning. He knew that if he didn't agree, it seemed that Blackbeard wouldn't say anything. But he will not let go. Blackbeard, this secret is enough for you, but how can you guarantee that I am absolutely satisfied? What if I'm not satisfied? Both Sengoku and Blackbeard talked to each other, and neither of them wanted to let go first. Behind Momosuke, the two women were speechless. According to this kind of negotiation, when will the negotiation last? No one wants to let go, there is no end to it, right? The members of the Blackbeard pirates also felt helpless, and some couldn't help but yawn. The corner of Monk's mouth couldn't help twitching. He originally wanted to watch the negotiation between Blackbeard and Marine, but he didn't expect it to be so boring. He immediately interrupted the two of them. Enough is enough. Negotiations between Sengoku and Blackbeard stopped immediately, and they all looked at Monk. Not only the two of them, the original negotiation made other people in 1.1 feel sleepy. When Monk opened his mouth, everyone cheered up. Bar Monk. Our Marines are powerful, why are you talking nonsense with their Blackbeard pirates? Monk's words made Blackbeard frown, dissatisfied. The members of the Blackbeard pirates behind them were also taken aback for a moment, and then they didn't say anything. Who is this kid? What qualifications do you have to say such a thing? Your marshal is discussing with us. You, a subordinate, even a junior, are you qualified to speak? Blackbeard restrained his displeasure, and showed a slightly ferocious smile. There was even a threat in his eyes. Monk ignored Blackbeard at all. He said directly, I have been talking about a secret for a long time, and it really made me sick to see it. Isn't Ace's true identity actually the son of Gall D. Roger? Boom boom boom. What Monk said casually hit the heads of everyone in Marine present like a bolt from the blue. Sengoku's eyes widened, his pupils trembled violently, and Ultimate said in astonishment, Monk, what are you talking about? The faces of Zephyr, Momosuke, and Hina also changed drastically, full of shock. Monk, is what you said true? Zephyr's voice trembled. Momosuke covered her mouth, her beautiful eyes trembling. Hina was extremely shocked. Not only the Marines present, but Blackbeard's entire group was also shocked. Blackbeard was numb, staring at Monk in disbelief. You, how do you know? Wait, Monk, this kid is called Monk. Advertisement. Chapter 100 Go Fundraising. Fish yourself once. Advertisement. The whole audience was shocked by Monk's words, whether it was Marine or the Blackbeard pirates, everyone was shocked. Sengoku has never stared at Monk in such astonishment. What is this kid talking about? Are you serious? Blackbeard looked shocked. He couldn't understand how the brat in front of him knew Ace's identity. At the same time, he keenly captured the name Sengoku called the young man in front of him, Monk. Monk. This name is too familiar, isn't it the kid who fished devil fruit mentioned in the newspaper yesterday? The source of all magical items. Monk. Blackbeard murmured in surprise, he never thought that Monk was such a young brat. But now this is not the point is why Monk knows the secret of Ace's identity. How do you know that Ace is Roger's son? That's something that even Marine Marshal Sengoku doesn't know about. When Roger was executed, there was no such kid, right? Blackbeard couldn't understand, couldn't believe it. The members of the Blackbeard pirates behind were also shocked, but most of their shock came from the news Monk said, and they didn't expect Ace to be the offspring of that man. One Piece. Gore D. Roger, this name is like thunder. Marine here. Sengoku, Zephyr, Momosuke and Hina froze in place, as if petrified. Roger. For them, Marine is the most evil person, because Roger's words before his death started the world's era of great navigation and entered the era of crazy pirates. Everyone went to sea to find the so-called Roger's big secret treasure. Monk. Sengoku came back to his senses, but his pupils were still trembling. Is what you said true? In fact, there is no need for Monk to answer. Seeing Blackbeard's surprised expression, Sengoku can guess that there is a high probability that this is the case. But Sengoku couldn't help but still want to pursue the truth, couldn't help but want to be sure again. Zephyr swallowed his saliva, and wanted to say something, but his lips squirmed and he couldn't speak. He found that his lips had become extremely dry. The two women, Momosuke and Hina, Marine, with high willow eyebrows and beautiful eyes looking at Monk, are also extremely eager for answers. That's right. Monk pursed his lips. Everyone present was surprised, only Monk looked relaxed. Ace is Roger's flesh and blood, and this is the big secret that Blackbeard wants to tell. Seeing Monk's indifferent face, both Momosuke and Hina were stunned. Why can you say such shocking words so easily? That is, One Piece, the descendants of One Piece, if the news spreads to the whole world will be shocked. However, Monk is so indifferent, as if it is just a very small thing. Momosuke and Hina only think that Monk is a monster they can't understand, full of mystery. On the other side, Blackbeard lost his voice, and said sharply, why do you know this secret? Why? Blackbeard now just wanted to know why. After hearing the words, Monk looked at Blackbeard and sneered, why? You don't need to know why at this point, all you need to know is that it is worthless to tell a secret like you said, not to mention that this secret was not revealed by you, but by me, so you are the second this request, our Marine refused directly. Blackbeard is about to be blown away by Monk's words, what kind of shit answer? But what Monk said is quite right, the secret is worthless after it is revealed, not to mention that it is known by Marine himself, so it is absolutely impossible for Zanwei to agree to his second scene. Hateful. Blackbeard gritted his teeth, and one step in his plan was thwarted by Monk. Advertisement. Fortunately, this is a relatively dull and important part. This kid was so annoying the first time we met. But Blackbeard secretly laughed in his heart for a second. Wait until I snatch your devil fruit, and see how you pretend. No, at that time, you will also become a corpse, and you will not be able to pretend even if you want to. Thief ha 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 ha. Although Monk told Ace's secret, in the final negotiation between Sengoku and Blackbeard, Sengoku gave in to Blackbeard and agreed to his proposal to visit Impel Down. Because Blackbeard threatened that if he didn't agree to his proposal, he would cancel any cooperation with Marine. In order to get Ace, Sengoku finally agreed. The submarine prison, Impel Down, has a strong defensive force, and with Magellan, the warden whose strength is close to that of Admiral, Blackbeard can't make waves. So far, the deal between the two parties has been concluded. Sengoku immediately took out the phone bug and asked his subordinates to bring Seastone handcuffs, and then locked Ace with Seastone handcuffs. After doing all this, Sengoku intends to escort Ace back to naval headquarters, and at the same time said to Blackbeard, that's right. If you want the title of 7 Warlords of the Sea, you need to go to naval headquarters to go through some procedures. After signing the cooperation agreement, you can officially become a Shichibukai. Marine asked Blackbeard about this to see if he would take this opportunity to go to naval headquarters together. But was rejected by Blackbeard, saying he still has other things to do. Sengoku didn't say anything anymore, escorted Ace, and took Monk and others through any gate to naval headquarters. Only members of the Blackbeard pirates remained on the scene. Seeing everyone in Marine disappear in front of him and the others, everyone in the Blackbeard pirates was stunned. It's amazing. Badgers couldn't help exclaiming. If we also have this door, we still need to cross the nasty sea. Poison Q, a patient who was disgusted of sickness, said. Lafayette, didn't you experience any door just now? Fan Oka asked Lafayette. Lafayette showed his gentlemanly smile. That's right. The feeling is very wonderful, from naval headquarters to Grand Banero Island in an instant. Everyone was envious for a while, wanting to experience that feeling. Badgers couldn't help asking Blackbeard, Captain, why did you refuse Sengoku's invitation? Otherwise, we can also experience the magical arbitrary door. Blackbeard laughed and said, the journey is the most beautiful process. In fact, what he wants is to see if he can encounter some powerful demon fruit power on the way to naval headquarters, so that he can harvest devil fruit. Now that Marshal Marine has personally admitted that he will give him the title of Shichibukai, there will be no change in this matter, and there is no need to worry too much. At the same time, when he saw the Seastone handcuffs, Blackbeard thought of a problem. That is, Monk has a magical item called Open Black Lens Bracket Devil Fruit Curse Elimination Potion Close Black Lens Bracket. It can eliminate the side effects of Devil Fruit's ability, making it not afraid of seawater and seastone, so that my own dark fruit still has an effect on demon fruit power. Thinking of this, Blackbeard's face became gloomy. Wouldn't it be embarrassing if it didn't work? He endured being in the Whitebeard Pirates for so many years, in order to get the demon fruit power's nemesis, dark fruit, now that his dream has come true, but it is ineffective against some devil fruits, and his mentality just exploded. It should be possible with a high probability. Blackbeard murmured under his breath. The ability of his devil fruit to act on devil fruit is actually gravitational force, which can suck everything away, even light cannot escape, so Blackbeard thinks that his dark fruit can still restrain other devil fruits with a high probability. Soon, Blackbeard no longer thought about it, and left Banero Island with his subordinates, headed for naval headquarters. At this time, on this vast sea, Blackbeard, the newly appointed Shichibukai, is not the only one heading to naval headquarters. There are also Empress, Hancock, Moonlight, Moria, Tyrant, Shang, Seaman, Jinbei and finally, the strongest, world's greatest swordsman, Haki. Every Shichibukai heads to the naval headquarters for the monk's magical item. As for Doflamingo, who is also a Shichibukai, he is meeting Gaisa at Punk Hazard, right now. When Guy heard that he was going to meet Kaido and Big Mom, the two four emperors were scared out of their wits. He kept refusing. I won't go, and I won't go even if I die. What are you kidding? Meet two four emperors, even if he is Logia's demon fruit power, he will be instantly killed by Kaido and Big Mom. So he won't pass anything. Brother Ming showed his iconic smile. Wearing sunglasses, he looked like a devil at this moment. He smiled and said, Guy, this is Kaido and Ant's order to die, it's up to you. Advertisement. I am here this time not to request, but to inform, and take you to Wanokuni by the way. The reason why Brother Ming will contribute is that as long as he brings Guy over there, he is eligible to buy the replica magical items developed by Kaido and Aunt Xuanguang. He also understands that other Shichibukai are going to naval headquarters one after another, and he won't go. Mingo knows very well that Sengoku will never give them these 7 warlords of the sea magical object areas. Even taking advantage of the Shichibukai gathering, Sengoku is likely to announce the cancellation of the 7 warlords of the sea system. So it shows that brother does not intend to focus on marine now, but to open up a back road for himself and strengthen his connection with Kaido. Monk's magical item has brought about a huge change in the pattern of the new world. The 4 emperors, who were originally kings of their own, began to hold together for warmth. Redhead and Whitebeard joined forces. The development of the whole world has completely deviated from the original track. Naval headquarters. After Sengoku and others returned to the headquarters, Sengoku was busy with Ace's affairs, and had no time to ask Monk why he knew Ace's identity. At this time, he was still very excited. At noon, he was still worried about not having an excuse to refuse to go to the Holy Land, and now he has an excuse. The most important thing is that this excuse is quite sufficient. After the biological son of One Piece, Roger, even the old guys in the world government put their current focus on Ace after they knew about it. On the square, Monk took Zephyr, Leaping Rabbit and Hina back to his room. Momosuke couldn't help asking, Monk, how did you know Ace's identity? 717 Hina is also very curious. Hina said she was also very curious. Although Zephyr said he didn't speak, he looked at Monk and waited for his answer. Everyone is curious about this point. You must know that even Sengoku, the Marine Marshal, doesn't know about this. How could Monk, who joined the Marine only 1 month ago, know about it? Monk couldn't help but sneered, and said, I know because Roger told me. Momosuke gave Monk a blank look, and snorted, if you don't talk, you won't eat. Is there any need to talk nonsense? Everyone stopped going. Asked, it seems that Monk will not tell them the reason. Monk, what do we do next? Momosuke said. The party continues, Hina said with a twinkle in her eyes. After joining the army for so many years, it was the first time that she had such an interesting life. Zephyr coughed lightly. Stop thinking about playing, you should practice a bit, do you think all of you are monks? Monk is bad, but his current strength has surpassed all of you, shouldn't you reflect on it? He was caught by Sengoku just now, which made Zephyr a little embarrassed until now. The image is broken. Momosuke and Hina couldn't help curling their lips. Comparing us to Monk. You're comparing us to Monk. Don't you know that this guy Monk is a complete pervert and evildoer? Can a normal person raise his conquerors to the top of the world level by himself? Besides, didn't you and Kizaru play too comfortably at the party just now, basking in the sun comfortably? Monk chuckled. No more parties. Zephyr immediately showed a gratified expression. Haha, Monk is finally planning to be serious. Monk sneered. No, the main thing is that the main props of our party were taken away by my uncle. Speaking of this, Monk is a little angry. He only has one mission must achieve and Gourmet's tablecloth. Now there are no more, which means that there are no waiters and no. What's the point of a party like that? Zephyr, Momosuke and Hina couldn't help being taken aback when they heard Monk's words. Fundraising. Where to go to fundraise? What does fundraising do? Monk laughs. Rehire our waiter and food buffet. Everyone understood what Monk meant, that is to go fishing. But fundraising. Where are you going to raise money? Monk smiled. Of course it's the world's richest man, I'll take you to make money tonight. He plans to go fishing for himself too. Advertisement. Chapter 101 Unlucky Golden Emperor, Mobile ATM. Advertisement. The main reason is that Marine didn't ask him to go fishing recently. After sorting out the magical items from the day before yesterday, Sengoku fell into the pressure of the world government 5 elders and asked to see the magical items and Monk with his own eyes. The former is easy to say, but the latter is a point of concern for Sengoku, so Sengoku has been worrying about this matter, resulting in no fishing. Now that Ace has been traded with Blackbeard, and he also learned of Ace's true identity, this news will also make it difficult for Marine to find time to fish with Monk in a short period of time. Monk also knows the follow-up situation. The arrest of Ace directly led to the Summit War, and Marine will be busy preparing for the next battle, let alone find Monk to fish. Of course, it is also possible, that is to find Monk to fish, and increase the probability of winning by adding magical items. The 3 of them were very surprised when they heard that Monk wanted to raise money from the richest man in the world. Momosuke squinted her beautiful eyes, and said with a surprised face, Shao Kei, you really made me think that you were still the Shao Do I know. Unexpectedly, Monk would take the initiative to seek fishing opportunities, which was an eye-opener. This is not at all like Monk's usual state. Monk touched his nose and said helplessly, isn't it because of my B*********** D bye-bye. If he hadn't confiscated my mission must be accomplished and gourmet tablecloth, I would need to draw a lottery. What's the most important thing about a party? Food, of course. There are good wine and cigarettes, but there is only food, and the waiters, mission must be fulfilled, this thing is very useful, and it must be the whole one. Zephyr, Momosuke and Hina looked at each other. Cooperating with you guys to be so proactive in fishing is for the next enjoyment. There are so many mystical items that can increase combat power, but I think of 2 mystical items that can only be enjoyed. The 3 of them were speechless. They thought Monk was active, but they were still the same Monk. And when Monk called Sengoku an A*** hole, the 3 of them didn't say a word. That's martial marine. If it weren't for Monk being Sengoku's nephew and having great value and contribution to marine, if he said this in naval headquarters, he might be sent to a military court. Insulting the commander-in-chief of an army is no small matter. Monk also ignores them. Life itself is to be enjoyed, otherwise why? It's like making money. What is the purpose of people trying to make money? Realize wealth freedom. Become a rich man. Everything is for enjoyment. Thinking no more, Monk returned to his room with Zephyr, Momosuke, and Hina and others. Marshall's mansion. Garp happily ate the pastry. Yeah, yum. It's so delicious, I didn't expect my grandson to hide this magical item. Garp ate the pastry and exclaimed, with this thing, who wants to eat senbei? The food from this gourmet's tablecloth is really delicious, and the most important thing is that it is not expensive, just a dozen Baileys can be exchanged for a delicious food. On the side, Crane, the Marine Chief Staff Officer, is also there. She just tasted the delicious food from this magical item, and it is definitely the most delicious food in the world. Now she is playing with mission must be accomplished in her hand, and she is also amazed at this magical item. By the way, where did Sengoku go? Why didn't you see him? Garp asked. I heard that Blackbeard, who defected from the Whitebeard pirates, wants to make a deal with our marine. Crane explained to Garp. Oh, what deal? Garp asked while eating delicious food. Immediately, he added a sentence. Doing a deal with such a person will never do anything good. Crane didn't refute either, she felt the same way. Continuing to answer Garp's question, Blackbeard beat Whitebeard's second team. That is Fire Fist Ace, and then use Ace to make a deal with our marine to obtain the title of 7 Warlords of the Sea. Crane's words immediately stopped Garp from eating the food, and his expression, which was originally happy because of the food, turned gloomy. Ace. The news made the delicious food in Garp's hands tasteless, and his face was stained with haze. Crane cast a glance at Garp, a little surprised, but as a great staff officer, how smart she is. She put down the mission must achieve box in her hand, raised her legs and said, why, do you know each other? Garp muses. This question was not answered. Advertisement. Ace's arrest is actually a trivial matter. Even if he is the captain of the second team under the strongest pirate group today, he will not be charged with the death penalty. At most, he will be imprisoned in the first floor of the submarine prison. In this way, Garp can occasionally take care of Ace. But once Ace's identity is revealed and Marine knows that he is Roger's child, the consequences. It will be unimaginable. I am afraid that he will be executed publicly. 20 years ago today was the day when Roger was executed. As the blood of the culprit who kicked off the crime era of the Age of Discovery, Marine will definitely stand up with Ace. Garp was in a bad mood, praying that Ace's identity would not be revealed. And at this moment, a Marine soldier came in a hurry, and said to Garp and he, Vice Admiral Garp, he's staff officer, the Marshal has ordered all Marine executives to gather in the meeting room. Naval Headquarters, Conference Room. Marine executives entered from the door one after another. At this time, there was a huge screen in the conference room, and the representatives of the world's highest power, the 5 elders of 5 elders, suddenly appeared on the screen. Garp stepped forward with a disturbed mood, and immediately heard the deep words of the elder 5 elders. Sengoku, is everything you said true? Ace is really the offspring of that man. Garp's footsteps stopped suddenly, as if poured into cement, so heavy that he couldn't move. That's right. It is certain that Ace is the descendant of Roger. I didn't expect it. More than 20 years ago, we had been searching hard but couldn't find it. It actually appeared today and became the second team on the Whitebeard ship. Garp didn't listen to the follow-up words, and he couldn't hear them either. Only 4 words were vaguely heard. Public execution. This sentence made Garp feel like he was struck by lightning, and he lost his perception of the outside world. In the conference room, the meeting continued. After the 5 elders announced that they would execute Ace publicly, Sengoku said in a deep voice, the public execution is very beneficial to our marine, but there is still a huge problem, that is, Ace still has an identity, Whitebeard's captain. I'm afraid. The great elder on the opposite side said in a deep voice, Sengoku, you mean you will face the Whitebeard pirates? That's right. It's just a remnant of the old era. If they really choose to rescue Ace and fight Marine head-on, then let's fight. The words of the great elder are undeniable. Take advantage of this opportunity to eliminate the Whitebeard pirates. Sengoku was secretly delighted. What he wanted to say was this. Once the war started, he had to prepare for it. In this way, he could apply for funds. 5 elders did not reject Sengoku's application this time, and directly approved 150 W Bailey. Sengoku's heart suddenly moved. It was very useful for him to talk so much just now. Immediately, Sengoku applied for this fishing fund again. When it comes to fishing, the 5 elders thought that Sengoku was always procrastinating about their meeting with Monk. Although he was very dissatisfied in his heart, he continued to emphasize that after dealing with the Ace matter this time, he must take Monk to the Holy Land, and then give Zanwei 10 billion fishing trips. Sengoku didn't ask for more, so that we can continue to apply next time. In this way, the world government will provide Marine with a total of 2.5 million funds, but the funds cannot arrive immediately, and can only be received the day after tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Sengoku didn't have any opinion either. Understood, see Lee Elders. I will arrange for Ace to be imprisoned in the submarine prison first, and then find an appropriate time to announce the public execution of Ace. The meeting in the conference room ended quickly, and the time came to dusk. Monk is the room. Several people returned to the room after dinner. Ah, since I ate gourmet's tablecloth, I don't feel anything about other foods now. It just feels like chewing wax, said Momosuke. Hina thinks so too, Hina echoed. Zephyr didn't say anything, but it was the same in his heart. He suddenly found that since he followed Monk, his bad hair became worse. Not only do I not want to practice at all, but I only want to smoke and drink all day long, and now my taste has changed. At this time, Hina remembered something, and said, by the way, Xiao Kei, didn't you say you were going to raise money? Hina still remembers. Hee hee. Monk chuckled. Don't be so anxious, everything is ready now, isn't it still a little bit of an east wind? Advertisement. East wind. But there is no wind tonight. Hina said, subconsciously looking out the window. Monk was speechless and ignored Hina. He looked at Zephyr and said, have you finished what I told you? Hee hee. Zephyr couldn't help but smiled triumphantly, of course. Of course I won't neglect what you told me. Very good. Monk was very satisfied, and immediately had a thought, and then any door appeared in front of him. Zephyr didn't talk nonsense, and immediately stepped forward and turned the handle to open any door. When any door is opened, dazzling lights come oncoming, which is completely different from the marine at night. Monk couldn't help laughing and said, as expected of the world's #1 entertainment city, it can be called a large-scale disco scene. Bondi. What is a disco? Momosuke and others were surprised. However, Monk didn't answer their questions, and said with a sneer, let's go fundraising. Saying that, Monk stepped into any door and arrived at the Golden City, and the three of Zephyr also followed. In front of the huge stage in Jincheng, Karina won applause from the rich and powerful after a song. Then, amidst the cheers of the crowd, she raised her voice and said, next, we will invite the biggest boss of our Golden City, Mr. Tesoro. The audience erupted into even more violent cheers, of course. Most of the people did not want to watch the performance of the Golden Emperor, but acted on the surface. The richest man in the world is powerful, and they cannot afford to provoke him. Amidst the sound of applause, the Golden Emperor appeared wearing a noble dress. Even though there was no light in the aisle, the gold on his body was still shining in the dark, right? While walking, the Golden Emperor tapped the fingers in his hand, papa papa. The Golden Emperor's fingers were full of luxurious rings, but the nameless ring on his left hand was empty. Dressed in robes and crowned, embark on the road of Emperor. The Golden Emperor's childhood dream was to become a star, and thousands of people cheered and worshipped him. Now his dream has come true, but he is no longer the boy he was back then. After Tesoro came to the stage, he immediately mobilized the cheers of the audience. Immediately he pressed his palm, and then started a speech before his performance, because his speech couldn't help but make an audience laugh out loud. This made the Golden Emperor's face darken, and with his gloomy face, the atmosphere at the scene suddenly became dignified. Quote. It's not good, the one who laughed out loud is the newcomer, right? Don't you know you can't just smile casually in front of the Golden Emperor? Even if you want to laugh, you have to wait until the Golden Emperor finishes laughing. Because of previous experience, it is said that Tesoro does not allow others to laugh before him. As long as you laugh before him, you will be erased by him. Hey, good money, why can you laugh before me? Tesoro suddenly turned into an extremely brutal person, and then directly threw a golden coin and directly deformed and wrapped the person. Let that person die of final suffocation. Seeing that person's death, Huang Jindi couldn't help laughing out loud. He was a lunatic if he was so insanely cured. Everyone in the audience was sweating on their foreheads, and they didn't dare to say a word. Sitting on 20% of the world's wealth, he was specially approved by the world government as the first independent king. The Golden Emperor deserves the title of emperor in this golden city. Even Marine and CP intelligence cannot do anything to Tesoro in this golden city. However, when everyone in the audience was thinking about this, a chuckle sounded from the dark place on the stage. Ah. It's really pitiful. In the end, I turned myself into a lunatic. The appearance of the sound on the stage is absolutely eye-catching, and everyone can't help but sigh. The Golden Emperor on the stage also looked at it, his eyes could not help but frown slightly. In the dark, Karina, Mr. Tanaka and Baka were all taken aback, not understanding what was going on in front of them and who was speaking. Immediately afterwards, in the shadows, a young man named Monk walked out slowly, with a smile on his face. Zephyr, Momosuke and Hina followed behind. Hina couldn't help but whisper to Momosuke, Momosuke, is it really okay for us to come to this independent country recognized by the world government as Marines to make trouble? Momosuke also felt bad in her heart, this would break the rules, but she said, why bother so much? Standing in front of us is the nephew of Marshal Marine. If the world government really blames him, just let the marshal wipe his A. On the opposite side, Tesoro couldn't help being surprised, people from Marine. Light. Advertisement. Chapter 102 The top of Conqueror's Haki is like a god descending. Advertisement. Tesoro recognized Monk and his party as Marine. This is not to say that he knows Monk, or Zephyr, Momosuke and Hina, but that Zephyr and the others are now wearing military uniforms. After all, I went to meet the Blackbeard pirates in the afternoon and was asked by Sengoku to wear formal clothes. Ah, Monk smiled, and didn't answer no or yes. I was a little depressed and forgot to change Zephyr, Momoshiki, Hina and others into other costumes with transform camera. Of course, this is not the point, it's not necessary, and it's okay for people who are seen by the Golden Emperor to be Marines. In the dark, Baka looked at Mr. Tanaka, with a warm and angry face on his face. What's going on? Why didn't you inform us that Marines people entered the Golden City? Mr. Tanaka also looked confused, he didn't know what was going on. Why did the Golden Emperor suddenly appear as a Marine? On the stage, Golden Emperor, Tesoro didn't worry about why Marine appeared, but said that seeing Marine made his brows relax a lot. Holding a microphone made of gold in his hand, he said with an exaggerated smile on his face, yeah. Yeah, Marine. I didn't expect a group of Marines to appear in the Golden City. Don't you think it insults the justice behind you? Or, is the justice behind Marine's cloak just a show? As the Golden Emperor spoke, he also deliberately glanced at the audience. Some of the audience were already cheering, while some of the audience really hated Marine. They couldn't help but burst out laughing. Speaking of, when the Golden Emperor was speaking, his face was full of disdain, a look of arrogance and endless ridicule. Look at your poor clothes, are you rich? Don't wait until the end of the bet that you don't even have any underpants. Hey, Huang Jindi immediately made an exaggerated surprised expression. The two female Marines behind are pretty good looking. As long as the two of them are willing to accompany me for one night, how about I give each of you 100 million yuan? B********************** D. Zephyr scolded immediately. He is upright and straightforward, and he hates people like the Golden Emperor the most. Hearing 590 Golden Emperor's words, he was immediately extremely angry. Out of anger, Zephyr immediately put armament Haki on his fist, looking like he was about to fight. Under the stage, many of the people who can come here to spend are celebrities and wealthy, so they know a lot about the world, and immediately recognize the armament Haki used by Zephyr. Immediately, some older rich men saw Zephyr's appearance and immediately recognized Zephyr. Huh, this one looks familiar. Could it be the former admiral, Black Arm, Zephyr? That's right, I really remembered when you said that. This is Black Arm, Zephyr, the former Marine Admiral. By the way, wasn't his arm severed by a pirate when he retired as an instructor a few years ago? That's right. At that time, the incident was still very big. The newcomers on the Marine warship at that time were Zephyr and two Marine newcomers who survived. Didn't you read the newspapers a few days ago? Marine is in trouble now. A young man appeared. Like, what's his name, what? Nephew of Sengoku called Monk, Marshal of the Marine, I remember. That's right. It's called Monk. I can't remember that crazy name, hey. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, as long as you know, Marine's overall strength has improved a lot because of this guy, and various magical items have appeared. As for the magical item, you will find out when you read the newspapers yourself. Quote. Everyone in the audience was discussing, and Monk on the stage took a deep look at the guy who had been calling him just now. He is short, with pointed ears and monkey cheeks, and a wretched face, a bit like the little husband in Doraemon. Little husband. Oh, little husband, the guy you mentioned is here. Monk remembered him. This guy is not a good thing at first glance. Behind him, Momoshiki, the person who knows Monk best, couldn't help but cast a glance at little husband, and mourn for him for 3 seconds in his heart. What a pity, Xiao Kei is very vengeful. On the opposite side, Tesoro was very surprised when he heard the discussion from the audience. He didn't expect CJFF to have his ex-admiral among the people who came. But surprises are surprises, accidents are accidents, and Tesoro is not afraid at all. Advertisement. He sneered. I really didn't expect that there would be a former admiral. What, is this planning to attack me? Tesoro was still arrogant. Since you were admiral, you should know that things like rules must be followed, right? If you break the rules, it's not just the damage to the Marine's reputation, but also the reputation of the world government. Do you think you, a powerhouse who has already ended, have borne such a price? As Tesoro said, his eyes widened and he came to ultimate arrogantly. This is an independent country specially approved by the world government. I give world government so much gold every year, and they regard me as a treasure, ha 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 ha. You touch me, Zephyr, you touch me. Seeing that Zephyr was furious to the extreme, but he still didn't dare to make a move, looking helpless and furious, Tesoro became even more arrogant. He raised his hands high and laughed loudly. Look, this is the so-called justice, Marine. I killed someone, shouldn't the justice behind you allow you to punish me? Ha ha ha, but you can't know it. Ha 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 ha, I tell you poor Marines, money rules everything. Monk picked his ears. Nima. There are really a lot of words. He was speechless, as expected of a man who could yell out a few classic lines. He was pure chatterbox. If this is replaced by the bullet type, let's start directly without talking nonsense. Thinking no more, Monk smiled again, looked at Zephyr who was impotent and furious, and couldn't help laughing. Senior Zephyr, why get angry? When you get angry, you only get mad at your body. Come, let me teach you how to deal with this kind of person. Monk intends to teach by example. Zephyr couldn't help but looked at Monk, and said in a somewhat uncomfortable tone, what can you do? Although he was angry, what that B********** D said was not wrong. We really can't touch him in the Golden City. Monk shrugged. In short, just watch it. Practice is the truth to test the facts. Amid the curiosity of Zephyr, Momosuke and Hina, Monk stepped out. The corner of his mouth raised, and he said to the Golden Emperor, Tesoro, you are right, we are here because we are too poor. Oh, Tesoro sneered, showing an expression of interest. At the same time, doubts emerged in my heart, who is the young man in front of me? He didn't pay attention to this young man just now, but from Zephyr's conversation with him, it can be seen that this young man's status and identity are not simple. Although the young man called Zephyr a senior, Tesoro could tell that this young man was the leader among the four. To be the leader on a team that has a Marine ex-admiral, that's a big deal. But Tesoro didn't care. As long as he was in the Golden City, Marine couldn't do anything to him, even if Martial Marine came. Young people, many people have the same dream as you, dreaming of being able to get rich overnight through gaming. Would you like to try it? As long as you let the 2 female Marines behind me accompany me, you don't need to play games, I will directly raise the price to 2 Baileys for each of you. The Golden Emperor's words, coupled with the booing of those people in the audience, couldn't help but make Zephyr clench his fist, wishing to punch the Golden Emperor to death. Momosuke and Hina's faces were also ugly. Only Monk has an indifferent face, or even a smile on his face. I did come to borrow money from you. No, to be precise, I came to raise funds with you. As for Momosuke and Hina, I'm sorry they can't accompany you. You said 200 million per person, that's not okay, let's make 10 billion pele per person. All the people in the audience were stunned. Who is this young man? Do you really dare to say, asking for 10 billion pele per person? Isn't that 40 billion pele? In the dark, Baka and Mr. Tanaka couldn't help laughing out loud. Is this Marine kid out of his mind? Is there a way to say this kind of words? Does he know that an organization as big as Marine doesn't have 40 billion berries a month? Advertisement. On the stage, the Golden Emperor was taken aback when he heard Monk's words, and then burst out laughing, his face full of ridicule towards Monk. Little ghost, what you said really made me laugh to death. What a brat who doesn't know the sky and the earth. Get out, it's boring. The Golden Emperor told Monk and his party to get out. Disappear before my eyes before I want to do anything to you. Before I don't want to do anything to you, I advise you to give me the money, Tesoro. Monk imitated Tesoro's words. Such a move undoubtedly annoyed the richest man. Do something to me. Do you Marines dare to lay hands on me? Let me tell you, I will kill you here. Although there will be some troubles afterwards, as long as you are willing to pay a certain price, troubles are not troubles. Tesoro stopped talking nonsense and started directly. For him, the trouble after the event was solved with money. He threw a ring directly, and the golden ring deformed immediately after he threw it out, like a pair of magic palms trying to catch Monk. Zephyr narrowed his eyes and was about to step forward to rescue him, but in the next second, Monk smiled, and immediately burst into Conqueror's Haki. God-level Conqueror's Haki that is even more top-notch than red hair. As soon as Haki came out, Zephyr was immediately shocked by the powerful momentum, and his movements froze. At the same time, his pupils constricted violently, and Ultimate looked at Monk with a look of astonishment. Monk. The God-level Conqueror's Haki directly shook the golden ring thrown by Tesoro, and then swept the audience. The celebrities all around fainted before they were too shocked, and there were countless sounds of falling to the ground. Tesoro looked horrified. This tyrant. Tesoro, who was suppressed by the Monk God-level Conqueror's Haki, couldn't even speak. At this time, his face turned pale in an instant, and the cold sweat all over his body slanted out crazily. At the same time, his whole body trembled violently. In the dark, Karina, Mr. Tanaka and Baka felt fear and disbelief in their hearts, and fainted in the next second. The Golden City is a huge ferry comparable to a small island. Under Monk's God-level Conqueror's Haki, the huge ship began to sway. The bow of the ship was dragged by 2 giant sea kings whose heads were sea turtles. Under Monk's Conqueror's Haki, the 2 giant sea turtles also fainted. Flashes continuously. God-level Conqueror's Haki makes Monk feel like descending on this. The god of the world, he was so angry that the world changed color. After a while, Monk restrained the Conqueror's Haki, and the whole world suddenly returned to calm. Behind him, Momosuke and Hina are fine, after all, they have seen each other before. And Zephyr didn't see Monk's God-level Conqueror's Haki because he went home before, but after seeing Monk's Conqueror's Haki at this time, he knelt down directly. He didn't kneel down because of the terrible pressure of Monk's Conqueror's Haki, but because of the speed of the Monk's Conqueror's Haki. Damn, are you dreaming? Warn, Monk, you be asterisk 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 D, are you on your way? Now the Conqueror's Haki has surpassed the red hair and become the best in the world. Nima. Zephyr swears wildly in his heart. He thought of how Monk told him to watch and study hard, how to deal with someone like Tesoro. I dealt with your grandma's legs, does Lousy have Conqueror's Haki of this strength? Zephyr has completely lost his composure. Monk didn't know that Zephyr was swearing wildly in his heart, and with a smile on his face, he walked towards the stunned Tesoro. Immediately squatting down, and then raised Tesoro's head. At this time Tesoro's whole body was exhausted, his whole body was wet, and the corners of his mouth were drooling. Although it is said that Tesoro did not faint, but this state is almost from fainting. Monk patted his cheek directly to wake him up, then smiled and said, would you like to raise money for us now? Asterisk 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 asterisk. Advertisement. Chapter 103 Sengoku is confused. Why is Monk running to the gate of justice? Advertisement. Naval Headquarters. In Monk's room, any door appeared, and Monk brought Zephyr, Momosuke and Hina back to the room in high spirits. After they stepped out, the arbitrary door disappeared immediately, and before disappearing were the staring eyes of the Golden Emperor. Inside the luxurious office of the Golden Emperor, Mr. Tanaka, Baka, and Karina have woken up. They were surprised to see the disappearing door, and they were silent for a long time. The Golden Emperor sitting on the office chair was also surprised, and couldn't help but feel more fortunate and relieved. He leaned back on the comfortable armchair behind him. Devil King. It's finally gone. That's right. In the eyes of the Golden Emperor, Monk is the Devil King, a well-deserved Devil King. What kind of bullshit justice is completely lacking in this guy? He still remembers that when Monk brought him to withdraw money, Monk didn't go on the wide road, but went down to the stands full of spectators. Then, the Golden Emperor saw him stepping on a person's genitals, and then apologized to the unconscious person with an apologetic face. Sorry for your size, it looks like it was intentional, okay. Tesoro remembered that the guy that Monk stepped on seemed to have said something about Monk at the beginning, but he forgot the specifics. In short, Tesoro saw Monk's character clearly, and held a grudge very much. In the back, Tesoro is extremely well behaved, and he will do whatever Monk says. However, Monk asked for 40 billion pele, and Tesoro was really embarrassed, and finally he could only give Monk 10 billion pele. Even if Tesoro is the richest man in the world, he still feels a little distressed when the 10 billion water is thrown out. But that's good, at least he can send away the monster Monk. Then Tesoro saw one of Monk's magical items, the Anywhere door. After opening the door, a completely different time and space appeared, and Naval Headquarters, which was far away near the red line, appeared in front of him instantly, which made Tesoro and others see the heaven-defying of magical items. Naval Headquarters. After Monk came back, he immediately smiled and said, "This 10 billion pele belongs to us. Tomorrow we will go fishing at the Gate of Justice, and all the rewards we will get will be used by the three of you to improve." It was already late at night, and the fishing location for the second day of God-level fishing system has been refreshed, which is in front of the Gate of Justice outside Naval Headquarters. When Momosuke and Hina heard Monk's words, both women showed joy on their faces. The two kept praising Monk. "Xiao Kei, you are really kind. Come on, elder sister Leaping Rabbit is rewarding you with a kiss." Hina is very moved. Xiao Kei is a good person. One of the two women wanted to give Monk a kiss, and the other gave Monk a big hug. Monk refused the good person card, issued by Hina, but as for hugs and kisses, he naturally accepted it. Zephyr looked at the three of them messing around, speechless. Momosuke and Aunt Tiwan were so bright before, why are they so stupid now? Why did Monk take them to go fishing at the Gate of Justice? Wasn't it because he wanted someone to take the blame with him? Once Sengoku asked why Monk had money, Monk would not be the only one who went to the Golden City to break the rules, and they had to bear it together. Really a sinister kid. Zephyr cursed secretly in his heart. But after thinking about it, he felt that it was very cost-effective. Monk was willing to spend the 10 billion baileys to improve himself and others. He believed that tomorrow their combat power would shoot out like a cannonball. This world does not have the concept of a rocket, so the description GFA can associate with it as a cannonball. In short, Zephyr felt that the benefits he gained outweighed the disadvantages, so if he gets punished then he will be punished, it doesn't matter. Since Monk broke out Conqueror's Haki just now, Zephyr felt that the steady improvement is no longer interesting. If you want to improve quickly, you still need to rely on Monk's magical item $13. The next day, Marshal's mansion. Kizaru came to the Marshal's mansion to report the situation to Sengoku. "Yo, Marshal, I'm back," Kizaru said in a deep voice. Sengoku glanced at Kizaru, and now he was angry when he saw Kizaru, suppressed the irritability in his heart, and said in a deep voice, "How is the research at Vegapunk?" Advertisement. The magical items such as memory bread, a mortal bean and physical strength pill have been analyzed. Sengoku's eyes suddenly brightened, and he put his dissatisfaction with Kizaru behind him, and said loudly, "Let me take a look at the replica sample, is there still mass production possible?" Kizaru showed Sengoku the samples he had already prepared, and then said, "Vegapunk said that mass production is not yet possible due to financial reasons. Also, the effect of these replicas is only about half of the original Monk, and to be precise, it should be less than half. This is a detailed data report." With that said, Kizaru handed another report to Sengoku. Sengoku took a look, and then tried the re-engraved sample, and it is true that the effect is not as strong as the original Monk. However, as long as mass production can be achieved, it is still very good. "Yo, yes," Kizaru echoed. Monk's magical items are magical and powerful, but for such a large force as Naval Headquarters, it is impossible to maintain consumption. As for the Vegapunk replica, although it is not as powerful as the Monk, it is of great value as long as it can be mass-produced. And it can also save a lot of money. Take Shondo as an example. If you want a Shondo, you must fish at a low-level fishing, not counting the case of fishing for other magical items. The minimum cost of a primary fairy bean is 200 W Bailey, as long as the replica can be overcompressed, so that one only needs 10 W Bailey, or even lower, that will be a great blessing to the power. Well, then you, the minister, supervise the progress of mass production at Vegapunk. And you, as admiral, are the face of our marine, don't mess with that D*********** D Monk. Sengoku warned Kizaru. That guy has the fruit of fishing, and his strength has improved rapidly. If you continue to mess with him, you will be surpassed by him sooner or later. Although Sengoku doesn't know how Monk's strength has improved, these are not important. As the Marine Marshal, he only needs to see the result. And the rapid improvement of Monk's strength made him very satisfied. This is also the reason why every time I see Monk playing badly and enjoying life, Sengoku swears a few words, and then he doesn't care about it. As for Zephyr, Momoshiki and Hina, just like Granny Crane said, whether they can benefit from Monk's side depends on their fortunes. That's right, Sengoku thought of something again. As that Seraphim core Vegapunk made yet. He almost forgot that he gave Vegapunk the thing. It has been produced, I have seen it, but Vegapunk said it is still in the debugging stage, so I haven't seen the details. Kizaru replied. Sengoku frowned slightly, he had some strange feeling in his heart. That is, it feels like Vegapunk is deliberately delaying the progress, but thinking that Vegapunk has contributed a lot to Marine before, Sengoku put the idea behind him. Then he gave an order to Kizaru again. By the way, Marine captured Ace yesterday. It's Fire Fist, Ace, Whitebeard's second team. Kizaru couldn't help opening his eyes slightly, and said in surprise, Whitebeard's captain, that's really amazing. He still has an identity, a descendant of Roger. Kizaru didn't realize for a moment, Roger. Which Roger? One Piece, Gal D. Roger. This time Kizaru's pupils constricted violently, and his face was shocked. The captain of Whitebeard's second team, Fire Fist, Ace, is Roger's subordinate. It's astonishing that old fellow Whitebeard is raising a child for his enemy. Sengoku ignored him, not to mention that Roger raised him, and the B********** D Garp helped cover Ace's whereabouts. He investigated everything before. The world government dispatched CP intelligence and the Marine dispatched a large number of troops, but they were unable to find the pregnant woman. It turned out that Garp had covered it up. It's really a jerk. If it weren't for the love of former comrades in arms and Garp's contribution to Marine, he would really put Garp into impel down. Of course, thinking so, our country still concealed it. Arranged for Kizaru to escort Ace to impel down. Kizaru didn't refuse either, and walked away. After he left, a Marine soldier hurried in. Marshal, there are some Shichibukai outside the Gate of Justice, and they want to see you. The soldier hurriedly said. Asterisk 10. Sengoku couldn't help frowning. He naturally knew why these 7 warlords of the sea came here, they all came for Monk's magical items. After some thought, Sengoku decided to meet the group of Shichibukai. It's just in time, and it is very likely to face the Whitebeard pirates later, so I just told this group of Shichibukai about this in advance. Advertisement. Sengoku immediately said. Open the door of justice and let them in, I'll wait for them in the reception area first. However, a few minutes later, before Sengoku could go to the reception area, another soldier rushed to report. Marshal, the door of justice cannot be opened. Sengoku couldn't help frowning. Can't open it. Is there a malfunction? No, it's your nephew, and Zephyr instructor, Momoshiki Vice Admiral and Hina Rear Admiral are on it. We can't open it. Sengoku, what are those guys doing at Justice's gate? Sengoku is in a daze, what are you doing running up there? It's okay for Monk to mess around, why are Momoshiki, Hina and Zephyr also messing around with him? Sengoku stood up, flicked the cloak behind him, and walked away angrily. The Gate of Justice. Monk, Zephyr, Momoshiki, Hina and others stand proudly on the Gate of Justice, which is hundreds of meters high. It was the first time for Monk to stand so high. In his previous life, he would have been terrified at such a high place without guardrails, but now he looks calm and calm. Good, nice view. In front of you is the endless ocean, which is constantly shining in the sun. Monk just felt refreshed. Then he raised his eyes to look down again, and found a group of people gathered outside the Gate of Justice. He couldn't help being surprised. A closer look revealed that there were several 7 warlords of the sea, Empress, Hancock, Moonlight, Moria, Seaman, Jinbei, Tyrant, Shang and the last Blackbeard pirates. Yo, Monk was surprised. It's really lively, I didn't expect so many people to visit naval headquarters today. Below, the Empress and the others could not help but frown, wondering why there were still a group of sailors standing on the Gate of Justice of Marine. Little devil, who are you? Moria asked with a loud voice. Quickly open the door of justice and let us in. Above, Monk looked at Moria with a grin, and shouted. Sorry, the door of justice can't be opened for the time being, you have to wait another day, or wait. Down below, the Empress and the others couldn't help but frown, dissatisfied with Monk's words. The people present are all respectable people. What are you talking about, you brat who doesn't even have full hair? Moria was annoyed. You marshals dare not speak to us like that. Believe it or not, if I kill you here, Marine won't do anything to me. Haha, come up if you have the ability. Monk was not angry at all, stretched out his finger and hooked it. Down below Moria was extremely angry, he never thought that a little sailor would be so fearless of death. Seeing that he really wanted to act, at this moment, Blackbeard who was standing on the raft sneered and said, You guy with no chin, I advise you to take it easy, don't wait until you die and you don't know how to die. When Moria heard Blackbeard's words, she couldn't help but glared at Blackbeard. What did you say? You think I'm going to be killed by this brat? Then you underestimate me, Moria, don't you? Blackbeard continued to grin. Thief haha. I didn't underestimate you, but the one above is the famous Monk. Nephew of Sengoku, creator of Hikiri magical items. Blackbeard's voice reverberated, causing all the Shichibukai in the audience to change their expressions drastically, showing unbelievable expressions. Then everyone couldn't help but looked up at the monk above again with a look of surprise. This little ghost is actually Monk, the source of all magical items. 11. The eyes of everyone looking at Monk changed, and Moria didn't dare to say another word. Are you kidding? Monk doesn't say that he is Sengoku's nephew, but that the value he brings to Sengoku now is something Moria can't touch. And at this moment, a deep voice sounded, "Are you Monk?" When everyone looked at it, they couldn't help frowning. The world's greatest swordsman, Haki, has also arrived. .. Advertisement. Chapter 104 Fishing at the Gate of Justice. Monk is so bad. Advertisement. Marine's 7 warlords of the sea, except for Doflamingo, was present, and even Blackbeard, the newly appointed 7 warlords of the sea, also came to Marine's door of justice. After Haki heard that the young man above was Monk, he couldn't help but look up, and his sharp eyes, like a knife, looked at Monk. It is true that Monk is stared at by the world's #1 swordsman. The current Monk also has one item that is #1 in the world, and that is Conqueror's Haki. Haki couldn't help admiring that this young man had the guts to look at him. As expected of the most famous person in Marine right now, although he is young, he already has the aura of a strong man. However, Haki was slightly dissatisfied with Monk, that is, his lightning pill can make people master advanced swordsmanship, which makes him, the world's 10th greatest swordsman, worthless. The dissatisfaction in his heart was dissatisfaction, and Haki didn't show it. His lips twitched on his paralyzed face. It's you who made me, the world's #1 swordsman, cheap. I didn't expect it to be a young man. On the gate of justice, Monk chuckled lightly. No. As long as you can reach the top of the world, no one is cheap. Even though Dianguang can give people a profound sword skill, your sword skill belongs to you alone, and no one can duplicate it. You are still the unique world's #1 swordsman from before. What Monk said made Haki feel a lot better, so he didn't say anything anymore, and waited silently. Seeing that Haki shut up, Blackbeard laughed. Brother Monk, can you let us in? Haha, thief, when I sign the 7 warlords of the sea agreement, we will be a family from now on. The corner of Monk's mouth couldn't help twitching, and he had to say that Blackbeard is really shameless. Who is your family? Before Meng opened his mouth, Moria below also opened his mouth and said, yes, Monk. I'm really sorry just now, I was the one who couldn't see Taishan, so you are the famous Monk. After talking about Baoqiang, Moria also begged Monk to leave the gate of justice and let them in. The other 7 warlords of the sea didn't make a sound, just watching silently. Monk, the darling of Marine today, it is really difficult for him not to let them 7 warlords of the sea, there is no way at all. Above, Monk laughed loudly. I just said, I have feelings here. You can either wait another day, or wait below, and stop talking about other nonsense. Below, Moria, Blackbeard and others looked at each other, and the others were also noncommittal. 7 warlords of the sea and others are naturally dissatisfied, but now that they know Monk's identity, they don't know what to do. Song can wait for Gao Li from Marine to deal with it. Seeing that Shichibukai below stopped talking, and stopped talking nonsense, Monk turned his head to look at the 3 Zephyr behind him. It was found that the faces of the 3 of them were not very good. Monk couldn't help showing surprise. What? Are the 3 of you uncomfortable? Is this a fear of heights? The corners of Zephyr, Momosugi and Hina couldn't help twitching, afraid of heights. They are strong, how could they be afraid of heights? Your family is afraid of heights, and none of us can be rich. Of course, in this case, they only dare to say this in their hearts, but dare not say it out loud. Because speaking out will not only learn about the vengeful Monk, but also offend Sengoku, the Marine Marshal. It's amazing to have a background. Momosugi couldn't help but said, Shao Kei, you said that fishing at the Gate of Justice is a bit different from what we imagined. Hina also nodded again and again. That's right. It's completely different from what Hina thought. What's the difference? Monk was surprised. Zephyr sighed helplessly, and said with a headache, we thought we were fishing near the Gate of Justice, but we didn't expect you to come directly to the Gate of Justice. There is no problem with fishing near the Gate of Justice. It is very low-key and will not affect the normal work of the Marine. But now, Monk went to the Gate of Justice to fish, not to mention conspicuous, seriously hindering Marine's access. What if there is an urgent matter? This will definitely be scolded by Sengoku. Say Cao Cao, and Cao Cao will arrive. Inside the Gate of Justice, a Marine warship slowly approached. Sengoku on the bow was furious, and yelled at Monk and others. Monk, what are you doing? Come down for me quickly, don't mess around. Nima, is this blocking the door? How do Marine warships go out on patrol? How do they go out on missions? Advertisement. Now Kizaru is going to escort Ace to impel down. This delay, what if something happens? A lot of Marine generals gathered around the square to watch the show, and Suru, Akainu, Aokiji and others stood in front of the projection phone and watched the nonsense. As for Garp, now he's autistic and getting drunk alone in Monk's room because of Ace. He couldn't help crying and laughing. I'm afraid Shao Kei will be beaten this time. Aokiji also chuckled, and then he looked at Akainu in surprise and said, Akainu, it's not like you, shouldn't you be very angry at Monk's behavior? Akainu crossed his hands on his chest, and said lightly, it's okay. If the person who was messing around is Monk, I can forgive you. Aokiji and Crane are speechless. Is this the old-fashioned Akainu they know? By the way, what you said just now is too double standard, right? But I have to say that Akainu's words are very reasonable, and if it is Monk, it is really forgivable. Neither their marine executives nor all the marine soldiers will be annoyed by Monk's behavior. Because he is the monk who brings great value to marine. B asterisk 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 D. Monk, if you don't come down, I'll go up and cut you. Sengoku was furious. Monk smiled and said, don't be angry, uncle. Isn't there a random door? Just use the random door for anything. I will reimburse all the random doors consumed by naval headquarters today. Monk looked like a big dog. Sengoku still looked gloomy. Monk, don't you know that something of great value should be kept at a critical moment? Sooner or later you will suffer. Don't listen, don't listen, don't listen to bastards chanting scriptures. Monk rolled his eyes in his heart, and explained, Uncle, I'm here for a reason, not fooling around. My fishing spot today is here at the Gate of Justice, and now I want to fish. As soon as they heard about fishing, everyone who was eating melons and watching the show was shocked. Ah, Akainu sneered, looking at the video projected by the phone bug. I knew the kid wasn't fooling around. Crane remained silent, and Aokiji adjusted his sitting posture calmly, as an afterthought. Outside the Gate of Justice, Monk, who was originally very dissatisfied with Monk in his heart, became curious after hearing that he was there for fishing. Monk said he was going fishing. Does this mean fishing for magical items? There is a high probability. It is really exciting. Thief haha, it's worth coming to naval headquarters today, you can see the process of fishing for magical items. Blackbeard smiled, and then sat on the raft and waited for the fun to start. Hawkeye's sharp pupils rarely showed a hint of interest. On the Empress Hancock's side, she had a smile on her face and was no longer dissatisfied. With long legs, she sat back on her throne, that is, on the body of her snake. While raising Erlang's legs, he supported his head with his white wrists, and said with a smile, I want to see how the fishing process for magical items is. Tyrant Shang originally planned to secretly use the video phone bug to transmit to the Revolutionary Army, but after thinking about it, this is naval headquarters, so it was too arrogant to do so he gave up. Wait and see for yourself first. Every Shichibukai started to wait and see, with curiosity and anticipation on their faces. Inside the Gate of Justice. After Sengoku heard what Monk said, the anger in his heart subsided a lot. But he still scolded. Since you want to fish, just tell me in advance, I will spare time to let you out of the door of justice. Now that you come here suddenly, do you know that it's a bit messy now? Monk giggled and scratched the back of his head, looking innocent. This directly caused Zephyr, Leaping Rabbit, Hina and others behind him to watch, and couldn't help but slap Monk. This is too good at acting, isn't it? Otherwise, the three of them have been with Monk for a while. Looking at Monk's current appearance, they thought he was an innocent newcomer. It wasn't like that when he threatened the Golden Emperor to give him money last night. At that time, he looked like a gangster. Zephyr and others believed that if Monk's appearance last night was seen by Sengoku, the Marine Marshal, he would definitely be beaten to death. Below, seeing Monk's expression, Sengoku was relieved, and urged, that's all, you go fishing faster. I have to meet Shichibukai. Advertisement. Uncle, I'm afraid it won't be soon. Monk said. Sengoku immediately raised his eyebrows. Why can't it be soon? Your fishing this time is only tens of millions of Baileys at most, good. Even if Zephyr and others have paid for it, the top of the sky can only exceed 100 million Baileys. Why can't it be fast? From Sengoku's point of view, Monk's current salary is only a few 100,000 Peleys, and Momosugi and others pay, so there is not much money. How much time can I spend fishing with this amount of money? Behind Monk, Zephyr, Momosugi and Hina looked at each other with weird expressions. In front, Monk said with a hee smile, Uncle, this time I have 10 billion berries for fishing. As soon as it came out at this time, the audience was stunned. Sengoku wondered if his ears heard wrong. What? 100 W Bailey or what? Just now Monk said 4D, right? There is a high probability that it is 10,000 words, but it is impossible to be 100 million words. It must be because I am old and my ears are not good. Yes, that's right, that's it. However, Monk above once again stated that his fishing amount was 10 billion Baileys. Sengoku was dumbfounded, his mouth opened wide. 100 halves interest. It's really 10 billion Baileys. The marine soldiers watching on the scene also exclaimed. 10 billion Baileys. That's the bounty of 2 Whitebeards. Poor Whitebeard is being used as a unit of measure again. In front of the video phone bug, Suru, Akainu and Aokiji looked at each other with dull faces. Did I hear you right? 10 billion Baileys. Crane asked Akainu and Aokiji with certainty. Akainu was silent, and Aokiji replied. That's right, it's 10 billion Baileys. That's 4 billion more than the 6 billion Baileys we fished in the marine. Billion Baileys. The three looked at Monk in front of the screen and stopped talking. Where did this kid get so much money? Sengoku at the bow of the warship asked the same question. He asked loudly, Monk, where did you get so much money? 10 billion Baileys. This is 10 billion Baileys. The amount of fishing that the world government has approved this time is only so much. The remaining 15 billion Baileys under 2.3 are for preparations for war. Monk smiled and said, it was funded by a kind person. Sengoku's face is full of haze. Did he hear human words? Which well-meaning person will fund 10 billion Pele? Monk originally didn't intend to tell the story of last night, but when Sengoku pressed him, he had no choice but to tell. However, it was him who made the move, but in Monk's mouth, it became Zephyr. Momosuke and Hina made the move, forcing the Golden Emperor to pay. The more Sengoku heard it, the greener his face became, and he was about to explode. What a fool, the behavior of Monk and others will undoubtedly damage the reputation of Marine and world government. But after thinking about it, the world government didn't put pressure on him, the Marine Marshal, until today, so the Golden Emperor must have not complained. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Sengoku said in a low voice, Zephyr, Momosuke and Hina are over, come to my office. Zephyr, Momosuke and Hina all have the urge to cry, Nima. They didn't do it. This matter was completely planned by Monk alone, and then he did it alone. The three of them played soy sauce all the way. Among the three, Zephyr is still relatively calm, because he has thought of it a long time ago. The only thing he didn't expect is that Monk will throw the blame completely, and the three of them will bear it all. 0. Now Momosuke and Hina came to their senses. Why would Monk say so generously that most of the magical items they fished today improved them? The co-author has long planned to take the blame on himself and others. Monk is so broken. Advertisement. Chapter 105 Zephyr eats random fruit, random to dark fruit. Advertisement. Monk blamed Zephyr and the others for going to the Golden City to make trouble last night, leaving them stunned. However, the three of them didn't refute or expose it. In their opinion, as long as Monk can give them enough value in the end, that's fine. If the value is not enough, wait until the time to debunk the Monk. Anyway, Monk as Sengoku's nephew can't die. Monk also ignored Sengoku and was ready to start fishing. At this time, Zephyr, Momosuke and others discovered a problem. By the way, Zephyr couldn't help frowning, and asked, Monk, how do you go fishing with such a high level of talk? The height of the gates of justice is no joke. Is the fishing line long enough? Even if the fishing line is long enough, won't it be very strenuous to fish like this? Other people in the surrounding area also discovered this problem after Monk took out the fishing rod. The fishing line is not long enough, what should I do now? Under the gazes of Shichibukai and Marine, Monk made a random door after finishing the fishing equipment. Sengoku, as well as the crane in front of the video phone bug, Aokiji and Akainu were all very surprised. Why did this Monk take out any door? Including Zephyr behind Monk, Momosuke and Hina are also puzzled. Monk also ignored the crowd and directly opened the arbitrary door, and saw the other end of the arbitrary door appear on the sea below the justice door while everyone was staring in confusion. On the bow of the warship, Sengoku's expression became a little shocked. Could it be that? Zephyr, Momosuke, Hina and others also showed shocked expressions. You actually use any door to go fishing directly? Zephyr roared. Monk looked at Zephyr with a smile and said, that's right. No way, the gate of justice is too high. Without this method, my fishing line is simply not long enough. Zephyr, Momosuke and Hina were completely petrified by Monk's operation. Below Sengoku grinned again, not happy but angry, B********************* D. 29 inches Monk. Lousy swears that he will cut you for your father. It's too outrageous, so there is no need to go fishing on the gate of justice, okay. Isn't it possible to fish directly by driving the marine warship and docking in the waters near the gate of justice? Why is it necessary to run to the gate of justice with such a great fanfare? Zephyr, Momosuke and Hina were also dumbfounded, and they didn't know what to complain about. Nima, co-authoring and running to the gate of justice is not because of the limitation of fishing ability, but because you kid wants to attract attention. Zephyr, Momosuke, and Hina stopped talking. Following such a kid who doesn't play cards according to common sense, it is estimated that there will be even more jaw-dropping operations in the future. The three of them have to get used to it. Below, Kizaru looked admiringly. Yo, this guy Monk is really eye-catching. He is also a guy who loves to pretend. Otherwise, in the original storyline, Kizaru would not have landed on Sabayati Archipelago with a cannonball. I want to study hard. After Kizaru finished speaking, he immediately noticed a pair of unkind eyes. He looked quickly and saw Sengoku glaring at him viciously. You still want to learn? Sengoku was about to burst into flames. Kizaru stopped talking for a moment. Only Sengoku continued. By the way, didn't I ask you to escort Ace to Impel down? Kizaru said. Yo, and replied without looking at Sengoku. Isn't this Monk blocking the door? There is any door. Sengoku gritted his teeth. I'm not saving the magic for Marine. Kizaru stopped talking in the middle of speaking. Because Sengoku had already clenched his fist, and his fist was shaking violently, Kizaru felt that he had to say one more thing. Sengoku's punch was about to come down. Sengoku was really angry. This guy has the nerve to say that he helped Marine save magical items. Sengoku believed me last time. What happened? As a result, Kizaru used any door to go back to Monk's room. Advertisement. Now that Kizaru is talking about saving magical items for Marine, Sengoku really wants to teach him a lesson. On the gate of justice, Monk ignored other trivial matters and started fishing this time. 10 billion Baileys. Monk plans to use 8 million Baileys this time, that is, use 800,000 Baileys. Because he is fishing by himself, so it is said that the superclass only needs 1 billion Baileys for one time, of course. It is necessary to pretend to make people watching around think that he has only fished 4 times. Otherwise, if Sengoku knew that he had been buying half of the magic items for nothing, then Monk felt that he was really going to be hammered and half disabled. The next 200,000 Baileys will all be spent on intermediate and elementary fishing. After all, the main purpose of Monk this time is to get the Smurfs, that is, mission must achieve and gourmet's tablecloth. In order to deceive others, Monk still fishes for 2 magical items at a time, and divides it into 4 times for fishing. After making all the arrangements, Monk cast his rod and started fishing. Below, Sengoku suppressed his anger and quietly waited for the result of fishing. At the same time, he planned in his heart to get benefits from his nephew. As for the excuse, Sengoku already wanted it, and he needed a reward for hindering Marine's normal entry and exit. Thinking of this, Sengoku inexplicably felt a lot better. It's a little cool to go whoring for nothing. On Kizaru's side, he didn't choose to leave either, and planned to leave after watching the fishing this time. At the same time, in the prison in the bottom warehouse below the warship, Ace was also watching the fishing this time through the small window. That guy is the one who fished out such powerful magical items as Shondo and Physical Pill. Very young guy, and madness. Ignoring the rules, going to the richest man in the world to pay 10 billion berries, and ignoring Marine's rules, resolutely went fishing on the Gate of Justice, making Marine unable to travel normally. Isn't such a guy arrogant? As for what Monk said, what Zephyr and others did, Ace doesn't believe it. Although it is the first time to see Monk, people can clearly realize that among the quartet of Monk, Zephyr, Momosuke and Hina, Monk is the one who speaks the most. So young. Amazing. Not only Ace, but Shichibukai who were present also had a rough impression of Monk. I'm afraid he will be a very amazing guy in the future. Soon on the Gate of Justice, Monk felt the movement of the fishing rod, and the fish came up. The voice of the system also sounded at this time. It's a pity that I couldn't fish any Myriad Realms items, and I got the consolation reward, Supreme Wazi. Special Level Wazi has lost interest in this Monk. The promotion of Special Level Wazi is mainly Devil Fruit ability, and the Conqueror's Haki he wants to improve is of no use to him. Congratulations to host for getting Superior Random Devil Fruit. The Random Devil Fruit produced by the special grade is a very important prop. The human fruit obtained after Garp took it before, as directly the card form of the awakening. Of course, this one Random Devil Fruit Monk can eat too, to get himself the Devil Fruit ability, but it's not necessary, since the Monk itself only has a soft spot for Conqueror's Haki. What's more, Monk has promised Zephyr and the other 3 to improve their strength, so this Random Devil Fruit will be given to them. Monk immediately took out a Random Devil Fruit. Everyone present saw the Devil Fruit that Monk took out, and everyone in Marine had seen it. Although it all feels good, but there is not much shock. Another Random Devil Fruit, Aokiji said flatly. Grandma Crane, it looks like your idea will come true this time. Akainu said to Granny Crane. Before, Crane would put Momosuke and Hina next to Monk, so that they could hug Monk's thigh. This time Monk fishes by himself, there is a high probability that Zephyr, Leaping Rabbit and Hina will get huge benefits. There was a smile on the corner of the Crane's mouth, and he said, actually, I did have such thoughts before, but I don't have such thoughts now. Sister Momosuke always came to me to tell me about Monk when she was free. Although most of them said that Monk bullied her, but in the end she would happily say that Monk is good. Momosuke met when I joined the army. At that time, her village was plundered by pirates, and her family members died protecting her during the plundering. In the end, I took her in and let her she calls me sister. It's a sad time, and now I can see Momosuke with that genuine smile on her face and I'm really happy for her. It doesn't matter if it's promotion or not. Momosuke has also paid a lot for Marine. Now as long as she is happy, I have nothing else to ask for. Hee. Crane looked relieved, and said from the bottom of his heart, Sengoku has a very nice nephew. I want to be like Garp and adopt him as my godson. Advertisement. Both Akainu and Aokiji who were present were silent and did not say a word. To be honest, they somehow feel that Sengoku, the Marine Marshal, is a bit miserable, and he always wants to lower his seniority inexplicably. The outside world, outside the gates of justice. All the Shichibukai also saw the devil fruit that Monk took out, and all of them couldn't help but make a sound. Devil fruit. Moria touched her chin and said, I remember that the newspaper mentioned that there was a magical item about devil fruit, which is random devil fruit. On weekdays, Shichibukai would never chat politely like this, but in this special period, everyone is willing to express their opinions. That's right. Random devil fruit. Let Sengoku get Whitebeard's shock fruit, and a brand new unknown devil fruit ability, Garp's human fruit, Nika form. Jinbei said. He reads newspapers very carefully. Thief haha. Hearing this laughter, he knew it was Blackbeard, and he added, not only that, but this magical item of Monk, random devil fruit, is not cursed by devil fruit, can go into the sea, and is not afraid of sea stone. Moria couldn't help sweating on her forehead. That's right. I also saw this description in the newspaper. Is this true? No one answered Moria's question. Because everyone at the scene knew the news through the newspaper, and they didn't know whether the newspaper said it was true 380 or not. On the side, the two bosses, Tyrant, Shang and Hawkeye, were silent. Although they seemed to have no reaction, they also changed in their hearts. Hancock stared at the random devil fruit above, again without opening his mouth. We'll find out if it's true. All Shichibukai fell silent for a moment, waiting for the result. On the Gate of Justice, after taking out a random devil fruit, Monk asked, which of you 3 will take it? Monk was afraid that the 3 of them would have conflicts because of this random devil fruit, so he added, don't worry, after you get the devil fruit, the next magical item will be given to the rest of you who haven't got it. Hey, Momosuke interrupted immediately. Monk, you said so much because you are afraid that we will have conflicts and differences because of this devil fruit. Monk smiled, nodded directly and said, my brothers and sisters also know how to settle accounts. Hey, Momosuke immediately sneered and cast a dissatisfied glance at Monk. We don't do that. Hina too. Hina raised her hand in agreement. So Zephyr would not object. If so, is it possible to wake up? I saw that black mist began to appear on Zephyr's body, and then the mist began to form a cyclone around Zephyr's body. Below, Blackbeard opened his mouth wide with astonishment on his face. What about Zephyr's dark fruit awakened form? The awakening of Logia and Monk have not been seen yet, but the awakening of Paramesha and Zone has been seen. This shit is outrageous. Although Monk didn't say anything, he felt relieved a lot. When it was changed to before, he would not choose to eat devil fruit just like Garp, but Monk's open black lens bracket random devil fruit close black lens bracket is different, there is no risk of becoming a landlubber. Both Momosuke and Hina were surprised. Monk was also very surprised. Logia dark fruit. What is this devil fruit? Zephyr was not hypocritical, and said with a smile, if that's the case, then I won't be polite. Hina has no objection. Hina once again raised her hand in agreement, purely to show her presence. But Monk thinks that even Rob Lucci's little leopard can awaken, so there is a high probability that every devil fruit has its own awakened form. So, random to dark fruit. While everyone was watching, Zephyr took the devil fruit. Let's do it according to seniority, Mr. Zephyr is the priority. Momosuke said. Advertisement. Chapter 106 Dark Fruit Awakens. Comes with special effects. Advertisement. Blackbeard opened his mouth wide to reveal his mouth, which was missing a few teeth. Dark fruit. The most shocking thing among the people present was the Blackbeard pirates, because the other Shichibukai didn't recognize what it was devil fruit immediately after seeing the dark fruit. When Blackbeard didn't use it, dark fruit wasn't very famous in this world. Only Blackbeard, a guy who pays attention to devil fruit, will be very concerned about dark fruit. The dogleg Badgers couldn't help but looked at Blackbeard in surprise and said, Captain, isn't this? However, Badgers soon saw Blackbeard's expression about to cry, but chose to shut up. Fan Oka, Lafayette, Poison Q and others all around looked at Blackbeard's expressions and chose to shut up with interest. Blackbeard was really about to cry. His whole body seemed to have been hit hard, it was good to be sitting, otherwise Blackbeard's whole body would have been limp on the ground. 20 years. 20 years. 20 years. On the Gate of Justice, Monk also saw the reaction of Blackbeard below, and couldn't help being amused. He couldn't help playing a meme. 5 years, do you know how I have lived these 5 years? Blackbeard clutched his heart, only to feel that all 3 hearts were throbbing. He worked hard in the Whitebeard Pirates for more than 20 years, and finally he was lucky enough to see the dark fruit he dreamed of. Then he took great risks to assassinate Sarge and escaped from the Whitebeard Pirates. However, Zephyr only needs to stand on the Gate of Justice and eat a random devil fruit to get the dark fruit ability. At first Blackbeard felt blessed, but now he just felt miserable. Blackbeard was distraught, and the other Shichibukai and others around him were all aware of Blackbeard's reaction. Hawkeye looked at Blackbeard Pirates and the others without saying a word, and the same was true for Tyrant, Shang. These two, facial paralyzed, bosses are waiting for others to ask questions first. But before they asked any questions, they heard the words of Monk on the Gate of Justice, ha ha ha. Congratulations, Senior Zephyr, you have obtained a nice devil fruit. Shichibukai et al. Can't help but look. Although Momosuke and Hina said that they went to see Blackbeard with Sengoku before, they had never seen the ability of dark fruit, so they couldn't help asking, Mr. Zephyr, what kind of fruit is this? Hina wants to know too. Hina continued to brush up her presence. Zephyr laughed and said, dark fruit. It belongs to Logia. Rare Logia. Both Momosuke and Hina exclaimed in unison. Logia is relatively rare in devil fruit. Congratulations, Mr. Zephyr. Momosuke and Hina also congratulated Zephyr. Below, all the Shichibukai frowned and muttered, dark fruit. None of them had heard of this devil fruit before. Everyone couldn't help but look at Blackbeard again. Blackbeard can be regarded as a person who can afford to let go. He was still heartbroken just now, but he quickly adjusted his mentality. The more miraculous the magical item, the more value Monk's fishing fruit ability will gain, and the greater the benefits he can get after getting the fishing fruit ability. Under such self-comfort, Blackbeard's mentality immediately calmed down. He let out a low laugh. The thief ha ha ha. It's just that Blackbeard's smile is a bit ugly, I don't know whether he is laughing or crying. This is a very remarkable ability, it can be called the most ferocious devil fruit in the world. The most vicious devil fruit. Moria, Hancock, Jinbei and others looked at Blackbeard in surprise, and Hawkeye and Shang also looked at Blackbeard. Miraculously, it was Tyrant Bear who spoke this time, and he said in a deep voice, Blackbeard, do you know this devil fruit very well? Thief haha. Blackbeard laughed triumphantly, and then the black mist from Zephyr's body also appeared on his body. Advertisement. Of course, I am also a dark fruit ability tank. It is the bane of all demon fruit power. Blackbeard's words made the ability users Hancock, Moria and Shang stare at him involuntarily. Hancock directly frowned and asked, the nemesis of all demon fruit power, what do you mean, Hype-C? Blackbeard grinned. Darkness is gravity, and gravity can absorb everything, including your devil fruit abilities. That is to say, as long as someone is touched by me, his devil fruit ability will be invalid. What? Moria exclaimed in amazement. Hancock's willow eyebrows are also furrowed. Although, Tyrant Shang said that there is no change in his expression, his reaction of slightly clenching the Bible in his hand still shows that there is a wave in his heart. However, this Devil Fruit's ability also has disadvantages, that is, it cannot avoid damage like a normal Logia, and at the same time, the damage it receives will increase several times compared to normal. But before Blackbeard could finish describing it, the entire sky darkened. Blackbeard's voice stopped abruptly, and he looked at the sky in doubt, and the other Shichibukai and others also looked at the sky. What happened? God, why did the sky suddenly become dark? That is. Moria looked horrified, and raised her finger to the door of justice. What is that? I saw a huge black figure standing in front of the gate of justice, surrounded by black mist, and it could be vaguely seen that the person inside was Zephyr. And the dimness of the entire sky is because of him alone. Moria's scalp was numb. What's going on? Zephyr stood just standing there. I felt my body move towards him involuntarily, and I was attracted by him. Cold sweat broke out on Hancock's forehead. This, Empress, whose strength is not inferior to the top powerhouses, she was sincerely scared after seeing Zifen's current appearance. Even Shang, who didn't change his face in front of the landslide, frowned. He said in a low tone, not only does it have a huge attraction, but even the strength of Devil Fruit's ability has been reduced. Moria and Hancock, the two people with Devil Fruit ability, realized that their ability has really decreased. Moria's scalp was numb and she was sweating all over. Such a situation was something he had never encountered before, and he was deeply terrified. Hancock immediately looked at Blackbeard and said, Blackbeard, what kind of ability is this? Isn't the scope of influence a bit exaggerated? However, Blackbeard himself was surprised by Zephyr's change. He swallowed, feeling cold all over. I don't know what's going on. Blackbeard's voice trembled a little. Aren't you very confident just now that you understand Dark Fruit's abilities? No, you are also a Dark Fruit ability user, how could you not know? Blackbeard couldn't take it anymore, he was hit from the very beginning, and now the Dark Fruit used by others seems to be more powerful than his Dark Fruit. Seeing Zephyr's current posture, Blackbeard seriously doubts whether the two of them really eat the same kind of fruit. Blackbeard's mentality was a little broken, and he cursed. How do I know? Zephyr is not eating normal devil fruit, it is a magical item of monk. Everyone present stopped talking, and looked solemnly at the gate of justice. On the gate of justice, Momosugi and Hina hid behind Monk, but there was no way to find out that the current oppressive force was really too strong. Monk looked at Zephyr standing not far away, with a look of surprise and emotion. This is the awakened form of dark fruit. Zephyr's awakened form just now has not been fully completed, and now that he is fully completed, he is like Iron Man wearing a black armor. Monk called it handsome in his heart, and said that if all devil fruits can be awakened, wouldn't he be able to awaken a devil fruit to play with? For example, shock fruit is awakened, and there is also Yu fruit. It seems that the green dragon form of the character fruit has already awakened. However, shock fruit is paramesha. If it awakens, it will most likely be like Brother Ming's string fruit. It is not a cool external light change, but affects the surrounding things. Zephyr on the opposite side turned his head and replied, that's right. Monk, this is the awakened form of Logia dark fruit, the monarch of gravity. After hearing the name, Monk made up his mind to make a dark fruit for himself. There is no other reason, but because the awakened name is very angry. Advertisement. At the moment when dark fruit's awakened form, Gravitational Monarch, appeared, the entire sky was darkened, and it was a breeze. It can be said that it directly comes with special effects. Monk is extremely envious. Below, the Japanese Shichibukai are all with dignified expressions. Awakened form Gravitational Monarch. Moria was so shocked that it was too strong. Faced with this kind of opponent, he felt that there was almost no need to fight. After a transformation, most people lost the motivation to fight. Blackbeard was so shocked that he fell back. I just took devil fruit, got the ability of dark fruit, and awakened right away. Hancock, Shang and others were also shocked by this point. They are all demon fruit power, and they understand how difficult it is to awaken devil fruit. However, Zephyr ate devil fruit under their noses, got the ability of dark fruit, and awakened immediately. It's just outrageous. I have seen the power of the monk magical item with my own eyes. Everyone looked for the sound and found that it was Haki who spoke. The first time Monk went fishing, Haki, the world's #1 swordsman, saw the horror of Monk's magical items. Unexpectedly, Haki laughed lightly and said, this makes my black knife, Yedu, ready to move. I really want to see the charm of lightning pill. The world's #1 swordsman doesn't care about the awakened form of dark fruit in front of him at all, his purpose is very simple. He wanted to compete with the strong man holding the lightning pill, to see if his saber technique was better, or the knife technique injected by the lightning pill. Everyone is speechless. Nima, is this the point now? The point is that Monk's magical item makes Zephyr wake up instantly after taking devil fruit, okay. Really an idiot obsessed with swordsmanship. Of course, everyone only dared to curse in their hearts, but they really didn't dare to say it in front of Haki. After all, according to what the other party said, he is also the #1 swordsman in the world. Even if the current #1 swordsman in the world feels like Chinese cabbage all over the ground, the #1 in the world is the #1 in the world after all. Blackbeard's eyes full of haze fixed on the door of justice, not at Zephyr after awakening, but at Monk. Fishing fruit, he Blackbeard must get. Inside the gate of justice. Everyone in Marine was also surprised by Zephyr's dark fruit awakened form. He really didn't know that even if he was very confident in his own strength, he still couldn't be 100% sure to defeat the current teacher GFA. Order. Because of the high-level, super holy water that Aokiji took before, the awakening of Conqueror's Haki also brought a huge improvement, coupled with the practice of Huako. Aokiji's Conqueror's Haki is not weak. Akainu was silent and did not speak. See, Akainu didn't answer. Aokiji didn't say anything. Crane nodded. That's right. In Marine, including Monk, the strongest Conqueror's Haki is Martial Sengoku, then you, then Monk. And Monk, who showed his Conqueror's Haki in Onijima before, although it is powerful in the eyes of Suru and other Marine executives, it is still slightly weaker than Aokiji's Conqueror's. After all, Zephyr is a member of Marine, and his promotion is also equivalent to the promotion of Marine. It's estimated to take 3 or 4 years. Video de Li Jiao before the phone call. Aokiji sighed. I'm afraid that teacher Zephyr is stronger than before. Akainu, do you think you can beat him if you compete with the current teacher Zephyr? If Zephyr, Momosugi or Hina were here alone, they would probably laugh out loud. Akainu set a flag for himself. He said in a low voice, it won't be long before I will reach the ceiling of Marine Conqueror's Haki. HMPH. Aside, silently snorted. After a pause, he added, comparable to Conqueror's Haki like 4 emperors with red hair. He continued to think about himself. I think if you want to defeat the current teacher Zephyr, you need a powerful Conqueror's Haki. But although it is shocking, it is more joyful. However, it's really too difficult. Now our Marine executives have almost awakened Conqueror's Haki, and Wazian is used as an auxiliary tool for practicing Conqueror's Haki, but they want to reach the level of red hair. Quote. Advertisement.